What about today? We're going to be Power Scale and Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power arc. This is the final arc that will be, power scaling for Dragon Ball Super. The anime, at least. The manga, I will be doing power scaling for that and comparing manga Goku to anime Goku. I'll also be doing a review on the manga since I haven't really fully read the manga throughout. I've only read the more recent, arcs throughout the story. So I will be doing that in the future. But I want to make some other videos before I get into those too. So you will just have to wait for that. But let's get into this one. And before we do get into it, there's a couple of things I do want to say about in this video. One, I do want to mention the fact that I did make a big mistake in my last two videos. By an accident, I left out Super Saiyan God, which had a 2x multiplier, meaning all these other feats and their multiplications for their power should have been times two times more. So it shouldn't have been what I put them all out at max. So at max, Super Saiyan Blue, Goku, and Vegeta shouldn't have been 480,000 times universal. They should have been 960,000 times universal. So sorry for that again. And that was for, I think, in the for the Universe 6 versus 7 tournament arc, and the beginning of the Goku Black arc. But in the Goku Black arc, both Goku and Vegeta, well, at least Vegeta got 200 times stronger because Goku Black in his base form was able to handle Super Saiyan Blue being 2 times stronger than that. And then with Super Saiyan 1, which is a 50 times multiplier, which would have made it 100 times. So in his base, he was 2 times stronger than Super Saiyan Blue. And with Super Saiyan 1, he would be 50 times more. So 50 times 2, 100. And since Vegeta surpassed him and was beating on him, he would have to get 2 times stronger than him, meaning that Vegeta would have to get 200 times stronger. And Goku Black did get stronger past that, but we didn't see Goku or Vegeta specifically getting stronger than that. So I'll just cap off Goku and Vegeta's power at 200 times more than before. And the reason why I'm also putting Goku for that, even though it was pretty much Vegeta who had the multiplication in his power, is due to the fact that after each arc, both Goku and Vegeta, for some reason, their stats get equalized. So even though Vegeta got a significant power boost and Goku really didn't, at that arc, yes, Vegeta was the one that got 200 times more powerful, but after the arc, they should be equal stats. So we're going to multiply the number by 200 times more. So in the in the beginning of the Goku Black arc, at max, they should have been 960,000 times universal. But with the 200 times multiplier that Vegeta got, they should be around 192 million times universal. So before they got the power boost, or Vegeta at least got the power boost, there were 960,000 times universal. And once they got the power boost, they were 192 million times universal. So at the start of the Tournament of Power, or at least before the Tournament of Power starts, they're going to have a power level of 192 million in Super Saiyan Blue max. And with Goku with Kaioken times 10, it should be 1,920 million times universal. But that's only when he goes Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10. Also, I want to mention the fact that throughout this story arc, since it was many episodes, the arc itself wasn't as big. There were multiple other story events afterwards, what we call slice of life episodes. They had a few story arcs there, here and there, and I will be covering some of them because there are some impressive feats and people mention them quite a bit. So I'll be getting throughout those also. But the way that this one's going to go is I'm going to transition throughout the episodes right after the Goku Black arc ended. But after that, the Tournament of Power didn't just start. It had these other episodes that had nothing to do with it. That were, just keep on going. And then they were leading into the Tournament of Power. But even before the Tournament of Power started, they had the Zen exhibition match. And then after that, they had like 40 hours somewhere around there to find their teammates. And then they had multiple episodes for each of their teammates that they're picking up. So there's quite a bit of stuff that was happening before the Tournament of Power itself. And I'll be covering all those. So the first thing we're going to cover and talk about is the episode where they had Raleigh there. And they had Vegeta fighting against Raleigh. One of the scientists was controlling her. And as he was controlling her, he got her to fight, to destroy everything. And Vegeta stepped in to try to fight her. So she showed off her power by punching the planet. She punched the Earth so hard, she cracked it completely in half, which shocked Vegeta. And he said, ignoring the laws of physics with gags is against the rules. So one, she was able to break the planet in half with a single punch, but also Vegeta acknowledges the fact that she's breaking the laws of physics, and also she's using gag powers, which is pretty interesting because even though Dragon Ball has some ridiculous feats happening, they're at least still pretty grounded with the logic. They believe that it's reality, whereas gag characters, they know they're in a story. So the fact that he acknowledged that she's a gag character and she's not just really powerful, she has actually ridiculous gag powers that go beyond the conventional means of reality, even in fiction, is pretty interesting. So after this, we have Goku jumping in to stop Arale. So he turns Super Saiyan Blue and fires a Kamehameha against Arale's mouth beam, but it ends up knocking them both down. So their attack basically was equal and canceled out. And it knocked Goku down. You can see as he says, "Wow, this is great." So Goku wasn't severely damaged, but he was basically matched, meaning that Arale his power was equivalent to 192 million universes or above that, since their energy attack should increase the power even further. But yeah, her power should be in the hundreds of millions of range when it comes to universal. But she shows something that's even more impressive, as later on she says she's gonna fire another attack. She says times 100 this time. So the first attack she did was basically her holding back, and then the second one she's gonna do, she's gonna multiply the beam by 100 times. The clash didn't happen, so we couldn't see how powerful Goku was or if he could have handled it. But we do know that she has a blast that's 100 times more powerful, meaning that her power would be at least 19 billion, 200 million times universal, if we take that seriously. Now, after this, we have kind of a controversial feat where Whis breaks his speed by, miles, because we've seen Whis travel across the universe and how fast he is, but it does take him time. It takes him like at least a couple of minutes. Depending on how far of a range he's moving, is going to take him even longer. And we saw the way back in the, Universe 6 versus 7 tournament arc that he can take like a little bit over 3 hours to travel across the entire universe, which is still pretty fast, but it does take him some time. But this time, for some reason, he was able to get to Earth within like a second because Bulma was trying to get Beerus there to stop Arale by having this one machine that can create whatever he wanted. So she created the most delicious food ever, which attracted Beerus and got Whis there. And he says, "I've never gone so fast before." So he came there within like a second. And from what we've been told throughout Resurrection of F by him was he needs at least he takes at least 35 minutes to go from Beerus's planet to Earth. So the fact that he came here from Beerus's planet to Earth in a second means he went way faster than he's ever gone before. And this is kind of controversial because the way I see it, this whole arc and most of these slice of life episodes, even though there is no such thing as, kind of like canon or not canon in Dragon Ball Super, because the manga and the anime are two different things. So there's technically not filler. I call them fillerish episodes. People disagree with me on that. They're saying, no, we can take all these episodes serious and logical, even though they contradict a lot of like the feats that we see. But whatever. But a lot of people take this seriously, say Raleigh is actually in the Dragon Ball universe. The only reason I really disagree with that is that the fact that if you read the Dr. Slump manga, you would see in the Dr. Slump manga is a little bit different their world than the Dragon Ball world. And in one case, it's more realistic, and other case is completely not realistic. So, for example, the fact that in Dr. Slump's universe, the Earth that they have pretty much has every location that we have in our world. Uh, with additionally having the penguin village, but besides that, everything else is like our world. They have China, they have Japan, they have New York, they have Chicago, they have all these other landmarks that we have in our world. But in Dragon Ball, they have fake ones like West City, Ginger Town, all these other places that are not real. So there's already disconnect right there from the world building and the lore itself. And then also on top of the fact that in the Raleigh manga, it's completely a gag, and they have the sun having a face, and you have all these other weird things that are sentient that shouldn't be. Whereas in Dragon Ball, it's more realistic, at least in that aspect, because the sun is just the sun. There's nothing about it that's smiling. They do early on in Dragon Ball, they had some gag stuff, but not that much later on in Dragon Ball Z. So I'm not gonna. So for me, when people say that Arale and Dr. Slump is a part of a part of the Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball universe itself, I just don't really count it because it doesn't really make any sense and it's very contradictory. And that's why I say these are fillerish episodes. And also, I use this as an argument before because people are saying, well, we've seen Whis come there so fast, he came in a second. And my thing is, this is clearly a fillerish episode where a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense. Arale doesn't make any sense in the Dragon Ball universe, even if you want to mention the fact that she was in Dragon Ball. The worlds don't really add up, and it doesn't make any sense to make it add up. I just think it's just something that Toriyama was having fun with because they're both his creations. And it doesn't make any sense because in the Resurrection of F arc, when it was a serious threat to come to Earth, he said it was going to take him 35 minutes. But now that it's just for a piece of food, he's came here for like, what, in a second, and he went way faster than before. And that's not an explanation. That just seems like BS. But if you want to use this as an argument, you can make the argument that Whis can go from his Beerus's planet to Earth within a second. But after this, the guy who got Raleigh to attack everybody and go off, he was a ghost at this point. He was a scientist. He died in the end of Dr. Slump. So he came to try to mess with Beerus, and Beerus basically erased him out of existence by using Hakai. And Whis says, ghost or not, that's nothing to Beerus. Sama can't destroy. So Beerus can wipe out even ghosts out of existence. Then after this, Arale jumps in and tries to fight with Beerus, but both Goku and Trunks warn her and tell her not to. They say, careful, Arale. That stuff doesn't work on Beerus Sama. He will destroy you. Meaning that even with Arale's gag powers, she cannot do anything to him and he will kill her. So he's above gag powers. And that's one of the other reasons a lot of people want to say that this is 100% canon and it's a part of the power scaling and it's not inconsistent because, Beerus, because they want to upscale the character. So they're saying by showing this, that means that he's stronger than a gag character, upscaling him quite a bit. But for me, like I said, it doesn't make much sense because Arale and her universe doesn't really add up with Dragon Ball's universe. It just seems inconsistent. So there's a lot of problems there. But after this, we have, Goku fighting against Hit, the rematch. And as he's fighting against him, Hit is leaving these weird energy signals everywhere throughout the battlefield. And Goku's having a hard time sensing his energy. He even says, you can make a fix of your energy, can't you? So basically, one of Hit's abilities is that he can take his ki and separate it out to different parts and create like fake ki clones of himself. So if somebody tries to sense his energy and he's trying to hunt them down, he could basically create these fake ki clones. So even though they think they sensed him and they turn around, he's actually right behind them and attacks them. And then he showcases his other ability, which is this weird like energy thing that you can't see, and he's going through this tree. And then Goku goes on to say, but I didn't expect you to be able to attack right through things. You're firing an invisible energy blast right now. All right. So what happened was Goku found out what his other ability was. So his first ability was creating fake, ki clones so he can hide and basically get the jump on somebody and take them out. And then his other attack is this invisible ki that goes through, solid objects and it can hit its target anywhere. So if he specifically is targeting somebody and there's anything in the way, it can go past that and hit them. And we do get explained a little bit later that it's because this energy attack is not actually going through space, it's going through a dimension. So he's sending it through a dimension and it's cutting through space. So instead of it having it travel through space, he punches, it goes into this dimension, it skips that space so it doesn't hit anything else, and then it goes directly at them. But Goku's able to find a way to beat this, encounter this by the last second when it comes out, he dodges it. So after this, we have Goku saying, you're way stronger than you were at the Tournament of Power, which would make sense seeing as how both Goku and Vegeta should have gotten 200 times more powerful, even though Hit at that time was more powerful than Goku. Because if you guys remember my calculations, even with the times 10 Kaioken, Goku was losing to Hit, and Hit should have been at least 2 times more powerful than him, meaning that he was 20 times more powerful than Super Saiyan Blue and 2 times more powerful than Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, meaning that he would have gotten more than around more than 20 times more powerful than he was before. But also the fact that he wasn't allowed to kill in that tournament, and it was against the rules to kill, so he couldn't use his full power. He would have been 2 times more powerful, so it would have been 40 times more. But that still wouldn't be enough to the 200 times at this point. So it makes sense that he would have gotten stronger, especially due to the fact that he has the ability to just hold his hands up and basically increase his power exponentially in such a short amount of time. So it makes sense that he got much stronger. We don't know how much stronger. I would say he probably got evened out to Goku, so he should have gotten decently more powerful too, even after the 200 times, even with the 200 times multiplier for Goku. But after this, Champa and Vada show up and they're talking about Hit's time skipping ability. Champa mentions he can just skip, stop time. And Vados is explaining to him, saying that he doesn't stop time. She goes on to say he's not actually stopping time. To be exact, he's skipping time, and Hit can store that time he skipped. And with that sort of time, he can create a separate space, a parallel world, and he can freely move to and from here and there. So that was quite a bit of information. Let's just go through what she was saying. So she's saying he doesn't really stop time. What he's doing is he's skipping forward. So when he skips forward in time, it's kind of like stopped for the person, because it's basically whatever the events was going to happen is just happening for you, but he can do it. But whatever events that was going to happen for you don't happen, but it happens for him. So he's skipping forward and what he would have done with the combinations. And usually that would have been like, if he's throwing punches, the other guy would have been deflecting too. But when he skips forward in time, the guy doesn't move forward in time either. So it's only him. So whatever actions he was going to do forward in time, it moves forward in time and allows him to do it. But whatever actions the opponent was going to do, they're not allowed to do, because they're basically stationary. So it seems like they're stopped in time, but he's just skipping forward in time while they're just stuck in regular time. And she says every time he skips forward in time, he takes that time and stores it. So though him skipping forward in time is him using a technique to move through time, uh, when he does use a technique, he's able to take actual time itself. Now, this is important because he showcases a technique later in the story, and that is very particularly important. That showcases this, and and it's really important depend on understanding on how it works. And I know it's going to be a little confusing, but what he does is basically when he skips forward in time, he's using his technique. But as he does that, he's able to steal actual time. And when he steals that actual time, he's able to store it up and use it to either create a parallel world or do another technique that we see later on in the story. And that is important because that time that he's stealing and storing up is not his technique. That's actual time itself. So by beating Hit's, time skip, you're beating, his power, because it's connected to how much power he has. So if you're stronger than Hit, you're surpassing his power, not time itself. But the time that he's storing up, if you're able to surpass that or handle that, that means you're surpassing time itself, because that's not his technique. That's just the time that he's taking. So that's actual time that he has. So for you to surpass his time skip, you would just have to surpass the power. For you to surpass, the parallel world or his sort of time, you would have to surpass time itself, not him. So that's a completely different big thing. And then also, this is pretty impressive that she's explaining that he can get all that stored up time and create a separate space, a parallel world. So this parallel world, depending on what way they explain it, it could be very, very powerful, because we see another feat afterwards. But I want to get to that when we get through the feat itself. So after this, we have Goku fighting against Hit. Hit is using his time skip. He slips into his dimension and he tries to leave to get Goku frozen in time so he can do his attacks or hit him with his final lethal attack and take him out. But as after he did this, Goku ends up powering up, and as he powers up, his energy overwhelms his parallel dimension and actually starts to crack into the dimension and completely shattering it. And we see him overpowering it, and then he fires a Kamehameha, which ends up destroying it and taking out Hit. Now, this is very, very important because Hit slipped into this other dimension before Goku even did this. It's not like he was doing this at the middle of it. Goku just activated his power to stop him, because the significance for that, for some of you guys might be wondering, why would he explain that? What's the point of that? Is the fact that if he, let's say, well, was at the same time he was trying to slip into his dimension and Goku powered up to stop him, that would mean that Goku didn't breach into his dimension. He just prevented him from fully going into it. Whereas if he already did it, and then Goku powers up and is able to break into it, means that he actually didn't prevent him before he could fully do it. He actually just breached into the dimension itself, which that's what Goku did. First, Hit did his technique fully. He went into his dimension. He thought he was good. And then Goku powered up and was able to break into it, which is way more powerful. Whereas the other one's like just preventing them from activating their power fully. This one, even with their power being activated and it's going to a separate dimension, and especially a dimension where you should be able to control it and stop time, Goku's able to surpass that, meaning that he's able to affect his time dimension, which we already know that it's stored up time meaning that it's time itself, not just his power. And the fact that he's able to breach into it just by, powering up is insane. And then also destroying it is even more crazy due to the fact that it's a parallel world. Now, like I said, depending on how they explain parallel world, what do they mean? Does it recreate just the universe that he's set in when he uses the technique? Or does it recreate the entire timeline? Because that's how we usually see it. When Trunks uses his time machine, it doesn't just go into Universe Seven's time for for the past, or a timeline for like the future or past timeline. It recreates the entire all these other universes throughout. I don't like using the word multiverse, but I'm just going to use it because it's the simplest term. But the multiverse. So when he travels to a different timeline, he's not recreating just the single, Universe 7. He's creating the entire, multiverse, which makes sense because if you're going to affect the time, create a new timeline or branch in a timeline, it should recreate every other universe in there because that's a part of the timeline itself, right? So this is important due to the fact that it could either mean that when Hit creates this parallel world, he's either creating a single universe or recreating the entire multiverse as a whole. If he's recreating the single universe and Goku is able to breach into his dimension, destroy the parallel world, and take out Hit, meaning that his power that he would have would be enough to breach into a parallel universe that's purely made out of time, take out Hit, whose power should be around 192 million times universal, and then destroy a parallel universe 7. So that's very powerful. But if you want to go with the other interpretation, which I mostly go with because that's how I feel like how it works with time manipulation. If you want to go with that, instead of him recreating Universe 7, he recreated the multiverse as a whole. So this power would have been even more impressive. So depending if we want to say that he's recreating the entire multiverse as a whole, that would pretty much mean that not only was he able to breach into the dimension just by powering up, but then also destroyed with his attack. Uh, so he's destroying breaching into the dimension, taking out Hit, who has 192 million times universal level of power, but also now he's destroying this entire parallel multiverse, meaning he was not just destroying Universe 7, but all the other universes and there are other cosmological structures that are on top of it, which would upscale this feat even higher because, destroying one universe is impressive, but destroying them all is even more impressive. And this is really important due to the fact that a lot of people were talking about how Zeno's power and Max could only wipe out the entire, multiverse or a single timeline. And my thing was, yes, that's the most powerful feat we've seen him do or seen in Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Super, but that doesn't mean that that's the limit to their power. We know that these guys multiply their powers, and just with even simply having, being one time universal, if they get a million times more powerful, that would mean they're a million times universal. That wouldn't mean that just because they haven't shown to destroy a million universes that they're not a million times universal. You know what I mean? So people keep on saying that, but it's like clearly, yes, the feat shown that was the highest, but we know that they're even more powerful due to how many times the characters have multiplied in terms of power and gotten stronger in all these other, forms that will multiply their power way past how many universes that they have. But if you want to take that into an argument or consideration, that, well, that's the best we've seen in Dragon Ball Super, that isn't true because if we're taking this into account that, his recreating, creating a parallel world and not just one universe, but, all the universes, then that would mean that Goku's also did the same feat that, Zeno did, but even more impressive because he's way weaker. And then on top of that, is the fact that he also had to take out Hit and then, reach into the dimension and then do all this other stuff. So that would be even more crazier. Now, after this, there's a major anti-feat that that a lot of people kind of argue for, and it's very controversial. But it's when Krillin got hit by a bullet. Now, at this point, what was happening was Krillin was a cop and he was working with one of his other cop buddies, and they were in a shootout with a bunch of robbers, and they were shooting back at them, and his partner was going to get shot. So Krillin jumps in to defend him, and as he jumps in, he gets hit by the bullet. We would see blood coming out of his arm, and then later on, Goku shows up. And they're back at his house, and Android 18 is even scolding him, saying, "I can't believe you got hit. You got hurt by a mere gunshot." And then Goku and Krillin both go and leave to go train. And Krillin is even explained to Goku, but if I'm getting hit by a burglar's bullet, he later on says, then I can't protect my, people, my cop buddies. So this is important because a lot of people like to mention the bigger feats in Dragon Ball Super and say the crazy feats, but they like to leave out also the anti feats. Because the problem I have with Dragon Ball Super is sometimes they show these characters being insanely powerful, but then other times they show them being really weak. And this is one of those times. They have quite a bit of anti feats in this series, and this is one of them. A lot of people try to argue against this by saying that no, this is not an anti feat or bad writing. It actually makes sense because he let his guard down or he was holding back, so he didn't showcase to the rest of the cops that he has superpowers. But both of those are incorrect because of the images right here even prove it wrong. First, it doesn't make any sense for his guard to be down, seeing as how they were already in the middle of a firefight. It's not like these guys just jumped out of nowhere and sprung on him and started shooting. They literally were shooting in the middle of he jumped in the middle of a gunfire that he was already in the beginning of. So it wasn't like it just started instantly. He was already in the middle of this gunfight and he knew they're shooting. So why would his guard be down? That's just stupid. Like, what kind of dumb shit is that? His guard is down and he jumped in the way to protect his guy. So he clearly was intentionally trying to save somebody. So why would his guard be down? That doesn't make any sense. And then him holding back, I guess you can make an argument for that. But why would he hold back enough to get hurt by a bullet and then jump in the way of the bullet? That's just stupid. That makes no sense. And also it makes no sense that he would want to hold back his power so they don't see it. When Goku literally right afterwards teleports there and then teleports him and Krillin out of there, and Krillin doesn't seem to care. They know that Krillin has a friend that has superpowers. They see Krillin have superpowers and they don't even care. And it's especially due to the fact that even Android 18 is like, really, you got hurt by a gun. So clearly, it's not the fact that his guard was down or he was doing it on purpose to lower his guard. She herself acknowledged that why did you get hurt by it? It shouldn't have happened. It isn't something that he did intentionally, or it was something that makes sense that his guard was down. They're even wondering why that. And also due to the fact that even Krillin himself is stating that if I'm getting hit by a mere burglar's bullet, how am I supposed to protect my guys? So he himself has acknowledged the fact that that was pathetic. How am I getting hit by this? So no, it's not because he was trying to hold back his power to not show to his coworkers. He's not doing that. That makes no sense. That is stupid. Okay, that is an idiotic take that people make to defend this stories of bad writing, but it's just bad writing. I'm not saying that this is how weak they actually are. I'm just saying that this is bad writing, and you could kind of use this as a kind of argument to some of their, impressive feats and crazy feats. So yeah, him being hurt by the bullet, it wasn't because his guard was down because he already knew what was happening. And then it wasn't because he was holding back because even Android 18 is like, what the hell's happening? And even Krillin is disappointed in himself. And the whole point of this little story was was the fact that Krillin realized that he was getting weaker due to the fact that he was in training and that he needed to train again. And he wanted to protect his guys. And he didn't even care about not showing his power. It was simply due to the fact that he was hurt by a gun. And he was like, this, how am I supposed to protect them if I'm getting hurt by a gun? So no arguments here. I don't want to hear anything. There's no kind of arguments you can make. There's no points you can make. It is just purely bad writing. So that is clearly an anti-feat for Krillin and the Dragon Ball characters as a whole. So after this, we have the two Zenos talking. As they're talking, they're playing like a game of like virtual marbles, but it is a virtual because they're flicking these little planets, and as they're flicking them, we see later on two planets colliding and getting destroyed. So what they're doing is basically, it looks like it's a holograph, but it's not. Basically, what they're doing is when they put their hand in there, they're warping into reality and making themselves bigger, and then they're able to flick planets and collide them and crash them. Now, destroying planets is not that impressive, but the fact that they're able to warp through space and pick whichever universe that they want in whatever part of space and grow themselves larger to just destroy whatever they want like it's nothing, that is pretty impressive. Now, after that, we get another anti-feat. This time, instead of Krillin getting hurt by a bullet, it's Goku. So Goku's fighting against another group of burglars that are trying to steal his truck. He takes them down, and one of the guys that is down basically is not fully knocked out. He gets up, he pulls his gun out, he shoots Goku. Goku is able to react to it in time and block it, but as he blocks it, he gets hit in the forearm, and he is actually damaged from it and bleeding. And then after this, the whole point of that story arc is for Goku to train because he realizes that he's rusty. It makes no sense that he would be rusty, seeing as how he's been constantly fighting and getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So it doesn't make any sense. even if he was like, let's say he wasn't training, how much time could he have not been training? At most, maybe a few months. That doesn't seem like enough to make him so weak that a bullet should be able to hurt him, especially since even in base, he should be multiple times universal. And this is ridiculous because a lot of Dragon Ball down players are going to be like, oh, see, he's not millions of times universal because he's getting hurt by a bullet. And then you have the dumb Dragon Ball fans making the stupid argument of, no, 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 his guard is down. And when his guard is down, it doesn't matter how powerful he is, he can still get hurt by weapons like a regular human, which is completely stupid and not true. And I will disprove that throughout this entire video because there's other points and there's certain things in this video that are going to disprove that as a whole. But him having his guard down doesn't make any sense because he literally saw the guy pulling the gun out and he was already fighting them. And he can sense energy. Also, even if his guard was down, he should have been fast enough to see the bullet coming at him, like the Flash. When the Flash gets shot at, and the bullets come, and he's reacting to it like him, Goku reacted and was able to have enough time to block it. When the Flash has enough time to react, he sees the bullets going in slow motion and is able to, effortlessly dodge it. So why is Goku with his speed, fast enough to deflect it, but not fast enough to just completely dodge it? That's just stupid. It's just bad writing. The whole point of this scene was not to be like, oh, his guard was down. It was, oh, he's weaker now because he needs to train and get stronger. That's why. They're literally trying to point out the fact that Goku's weak for some reason. But people want to defend it and say, oh, his guard was down. That makes no sense. He should have been fast enough to dodge it. And then once again, the other argument, he was holding back. Yeah, we saw him holding back. He flipped a guy in the forehead and knocked him down. He can hold back and still take these guys down and use his super strength. He doesn't have to let go of his strength completely. And he still doesn't, that doesn't mean he has to make his body so undurable. You do know he can lower his strength without having to lower his durability, right? He could still be durable enough to take bullets, but hit weak enough to knock somebody out without killing them. We've seen Goku all the way back in, Dragon Ball taking out a guy earlier on when he first fought in the, Budokai Tenkaichi tournament. He tapped somebody in the back of the leg and took him out and hurt the guy. And then later on, he realized that he had to hold back his power. So he held back his power. Even while he was holding back his power, he punched a guy in the face and was throwing kicks and a full-blown shot. And guess what? It wasn't killing the guys. Even though in the beginning, he tapped somebody on the leg and it severely hurt them, later on, he's punching them and kick them, which should have more force. But even though it was a punch and a kick, he was holding back even more and hurting them less. He was just knocking them out. So clearly, Goku knows how to control his ki enough to, be bulletproof and tank that, or being fast enough to dodge bullets, but also not, strong enough to hurt them or kill them, because he was able to do that all the way back in Dragon Ball. Why wouldn't he be able to do that all the way now in Dragon Ball Super? It's just kind of dumb. But after this, we have the start of, the Tournament of Power. This is them leading into the Zen exhibition match and setting up the rules. So they set up the stage on where they're going to fight. They're apparently going to fight in the world of Void, which is explained to be it's a world without time or space, filled with infinite nothingness. Now, some people like Surf Bones have tried to contest this, saying, no, this is a mistranslation error. It actually said it's internally full of nothingness, which eternal means like it's a measurement of time. It's not a measurement of space, whereas infinite can be time or space. And in this case, it was most likely space because it said infinite nothingness. So his kind of argument was, no. This was talking about eternal, meaning it's forever, which doesn't really mean anything if you are able to affect it or fight in a dimension that is forever going. But if it's an infinite dimension and you have some effect on it, then that means you have somewhere around like infinite power, or at least the effects on that, right? And his argument was like, no, that's a translation error. But this was from an official website. It said infinite nothingness, so I don't agree with them. Most likely he got a translation error and this is the correct one, or that one was for the manga. Maybe the manga, there was a translation error, but the anime, it literally said infinite nothingness. But then again, he also said that the world of Void actually does have time. They're lying about it not having time or space because there's a clock that's going down, even though it would just be a set timer. That doesn't mean a clock wouldn't be able to work there. And also the fact that the Universe 2, people from the Universe 2 were able to see what was happening in the Tournament of Power in one-to-one real time. But seeing as how this dimension would have no time, that would mean whatever time space that you're in your universe, that's how fast you'll be seeing it. So you can have two separate times universes. Let's say one universe, the time is slower, the other universe, the time is sped up. They both are piercing into this dimension that has no time and seeing these people fight, right? Even though it has no time, the whatever time speed you're seeing, your universe runs in, that's what you will be seeing it. That's how it works. It shouldn't be a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 ratio. It should be a 1-to-0. What that zero, that pretty much means that whatever that dimension is, since it has no time, since it's a zero, it doesn't matter. There's no time lapsing that you can have for that. The other one that is a one, there's a time there. So whenever you pierce into the zero dimension with that one dimension, that means that the only time that you'll be seeing or it will be going in will be your dimension. It will not be going at the same speed. So like, let's say for the hyperbolic time chamber, right? We know that a hyperbolic time chamber is a lot faster than in the real world. So if you see into the hyperbolic time chamber from the real world, you'll be seeing the characters moving at super speed and way faster than they should. But if you go into another universe where it's slower, you would see them moving slower. It's dependent on your time frame. So that time frame is faster or the time frame is slower, right? But if it's a time frame where there's no time at all, there is no reference. It would not be faster or slower. It would just be whatever ratio your timeline is in. So instead of piercing into a time, a dimension where time is sped up and you see the people moving faster compared to you, in a dimension where there's no time, the people will just be completely moving at your speed because you'll be seeing them at a 0-to-1. So it only matter by your speed. So we even have two separate universes that operate on different timelines or time, speeds. So let's say one time is going super slow, the other one time is going super fast. Even though they're on this different, ratios of time, though the fact that they're piercing into the zero ratio timeline or universe, they will be seeing it at whatever speed that they're in. So instead of, seeing it, like I said, the hyperbolic time chamber, you'll be seeing it in a more sped up time frame. In this world, you just be seeing it whatever time frame you're from. So it would not be faster, it would not be slower. It will be always exact to whatever time frame you're from. Even if there are two separate universes that operate on different time, like one is faster, the other one's slower, they're both going to see the same way. So the one is faster, they're going to see it in their speed, and the one that's slower is still going to see it in their speed. It's not going to change because it's a zero. So it's only based off of that one. So I know it's a lot of math and a lot of explanation, but what I'm pretty much trying to say is in this dimension, it doesn't matter how fast your time or how fast or how slow your time is in your universe. When you pierce into this dimension, these characters are going to be the way they move is going to be looking like how it would in your universe, no matter what. So even if there's two separate universes that are different time speeds, one is faster, one is slower, they'll be looking at it it will be looking like it's the same. So it'll be sped up for the ones that's more sped up in that universe, and it'll be slowed down for more of the universes that slow down because it has no time itself. It would just be based off of those. So I know it's a little bit confusing, but if some of you guys understand a little bit more of science and math, you would probably understand it. And if hopefully I explained it well enough. I know I sometimes I try to explain some of these things, but there's no real easy, simple explanation. Real scientists would have been able to find a way to simplify it completely, but I just really can't. But what I'm saying is that no matter what the timeline is, even if the universe 2 was faster or slower, they would see it in their own time frame because the other dimension didn't have time. So that doesn't really mean that this dimension has time at all. That actually alludes more to this dimension not having time at all. So it has no space and it has no time and it is infinite. So it's a higher dimensional plane, and I don't care what Surfbone says. So after this, we see a little bit of the Zen Expedition match where we have Rotamo fighting against Goku. He showcases a little bit of his power as he has the ability to absorb energy and increase his power and then send out that power. And his Supreme Kai says, into his own power and return them twofold, meaning that he can absorb the damage, whatever damage you send at him. And as he absorbs it, he can dish that power back out in twofold. So if you hit him with enough power to destroy a planet, he will absorb that energy and then hit you with 2 times the power to destroy a planet back. And Goku's going back and forth against him, showcasing Goku's durability and his power. After this, we have both Goku and Gohan image training to see if Krillin, how he would fare up in the tournament, comparing him to the other people that they fought in the Zen exhibition match. So we see both them sitting down, and Hercule's wondering what's happening. So Supreme Kai says they're fighting in their heads. And we also see the visualization of Krillin fighting against Lavender. Now, this is important because we do get mentioned throughout the series about them image training, but I don't think people go into it enough because image training is actually pretty impressive. What they're pretty much doing is like what a computer would do is running like simulations on what would happen in certain scenarios and the outcome of that scenario. So by them image training, both Goku and Gohan can visualize both Krillin and Lavender and their levels of power. So they will know how powerful they are. They will know what they're capable of, and they would be able to run simulations and scenarios of them both fighting and meeting up and seeing what possibility or chance or Krillin would have of being able to handle somebody like Lavender, and they realized he wasn't powerful enough. But that's an insane power and ability that a lot of people just don't really talk about that much. But after this, we have them trying to recruit Vegeta, but Vegeta's like, I can't do it. My wife's pregnant. Bulma's pregnant. I'm not gonna go. Whis like, no problem. I'll give you guys an early delivery. As he puts out his wand, is able to create Bulla right out of Bulma. So this is pretty impressive. What he pretty much did was she was pregnant and she was still a few months away from delivering the baby, and Vegeta couldn't fight with them until his baby was into the world. So Whis took it into his own hands to speed it up because they only had like 40 hours until the tournament started. So he basically brought her out instantly, showcasing his insane powers. After this, we have Goku trying to get 17 on his side. And as he fights 17, he tries to see how powerful he is. And 17 showcases how powerful he is by basically pushing Goku. And Goku says, to be honest, I didn't intend to go to Super Saiyan Blue. So he transforms into Super Saiyan Blue. As they're fighting, they go on to say, well, it looks like you weren't going full power either. That's what 17 or I think there's 17 saying to Goku. And then he said, you're still not at full power, are you? You're still saving your strength too, ain't you? As Goku says back to 17. So what happened is Goku pulls up on 17. He tries to challenge him to see how powerful he is. And as they're fighting, he ends up being so powerful and such a challenge to Goku that his base can't handle him. Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, even God can't handle him. So much to the point that he was forced to go to Super Saiyan Blue, which we already know is 192 million times universal at this point. Meaning that if 17 forced him into that, meaning that even with a power below 192 million was not enough to handle him. So he needed a power of around 192 million just to handle him. Now, some people say, well, he wasn't at exactly Super Saiyan Blue's level of power because Goku himself even stated that he wasn't going full power. But you guys failed to mention the fact that 17 also called out Goku and said you were also holding back. So even though Goku wasn't going full power, neither was 17. So that completely makes that argument null and void. And also, let's go throughout this, whole little thing with 17 because this is very controversial. Me and a lot of other people think that this is kind of BS that 17 was able to get this much powerful to not only force Goku to go into Super Saiyan Blue, meaning he was more powerful than all of Goku's other forms, but also even though Goku was holding back in Super Saiyan Blue, so was 17. And even if he is holding back completely, that doesn't mean anything because he still forced Goku to go in that form, which would still already be ridiculous that he can even handle base Goku because before this in the Cell Saga, he was weaker than, Super Vegeta, and Super Vegeta is nothing compared to them now. And the only training he really had was fighting against poachers, which was just humans with guns and tanks, which shouldn't be enough to get you such an insane, increase in power. It's just ridiculous. And even though the fact that you guys want to argue that, well, he wasn't going all out, that doesn't matter. The fact that he made him go Super Saiyan Blue is already ridiculous enough, let alone having him holding it back, yeah, even while he's fighting against Goku. That's still crazy. And I'm not saying that he's on the level of Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but he is at least at that realm. He was able to at least push him in there to that power. And even with Goku holding back, he was still able to hold back, meaning that he's not at the exact level of Super Saiyan Blue, but he's around that ballpark, which is already ridiculous enough and showcases the bad writing here, but whatever. But after this, we have both Gohan and Piccolo fighting as they're training for the Tournament of Power within those 40 hours, which is really important. And there's something that you'll see why that's important. But as they're fighting, for some reason, Gohan cannot go Mystic anymore. He's lost his Mystic form. He can go still Super Saiyan 2, and he's fighting against Piccolo. As he fights against Piccolo, Piccolo actually catches him by the neck, and he's choking him out. And even Gohan acknowledges, saying, when did you get such power? And he actually ends up choking him out, going back into base. Now, this is crazy because on one hand, you have Gohan. He hasn't, on one hand, Gohan has pretty much gotten so weak that he's lost his mystic form again, which makes no sense because the time frame between this and all the way back to, um, I mean, Resurrection F, he didn't have it, but he said he was training again. So he started training back up again, but then he lost the power again. So I don't know. His character is weird. He keeps on doing this thing where he's like, I'm weak, I need to train, then gets his power back. And then he stops training, then loses that power and he gets weaker, but whatever. He was still in Super Saiyan 2, and in Super Saiyan 2, Piccolo was able to choke him out, which some people might say, well, he was weaker, but even with that being weaker, he was still a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Even with less than half of his power, he was able to destroy Super Perfect Cell, meaning that Piccolo at this point should be beyond Super Perfect Cell, because even if he's like, like half weaker than he was when he was fighting at Cell, he should still be significantly more powerful. And the fact that Piccolo was able to casually choke him out into base means that he's even more powerful than that. But after this, both Goku and Gohan start to fight. Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue. Gohan goes into his mystic form, and they're pretty much evenly matched until Goku goes into his Kaioken state and knocks him out with a single punch, meaning that both Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Mr. Gohan are equal in terms of power, and for Goku to beat him, he would need to go Kaioken on top of it just to take him out. Which some people might argue saying, no, 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 Goku's probably holding back and just use Kaioken for, to show him this high level of power. But that isn't true, because even the narrator himself states after that both Goku and Gohan were equal. Both Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Gohan were equal in terms of power, meaning that Mr. Gohan and Super Saiyan Blue Goku are evenly matched in power, and the only way for Goku to beat him would be if he goes Kaioken, which is also BS. So now we have 17 forcing Goku to Super Saiyan Blue because he's so powerful. But also, even though Goku's holding back, he's also holding back, meaning that the 17 is in the ballpark of Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Then we have Gohan, who before this was getting choked out by, Piccolo, and was only able to go to Super Saiyan 2. But now he's unlocked Mystic form within 40 hours, just so you guys know. It was only a 40-hour timeline that they had to pick all their fighters before they got into the tournament. So within 40 hours, he was able to go from being beaten by Piccolo and only go Super Saiyan 2 to unlocking Mystic form, and now evenly matching Super Saiyan Blue Goku and actually pushing Goku to go to Kaioken just to take him out. That is stupid. Once again, that's completely dumb writing. How is Android 17 that powerful? And how is Gohan that powerful? How did he get that much more powerful in such a short time frame? I don't know. And then later on, I'm not going to show, but he also fought against Frieza. Frieza was able to increase his power in Hell by just focusing and controlling his ki. And by controlling his ki, it also increases power significantly to the point where in his golden form now, he was able to surpass Super Saiyan Blue Goku to the point where he had to use Kaioken times 10. And as he used Kaioken times 10 and he dashed in to hit him with a punch, they both knocked each other out, meaning that Golden Frieza at this point was equivalent to Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10 Goku, meaning Android 17 is in the ballpark of Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Mr. Gohan is evenly matched with Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and he would force Goku to go into Kaioken just to beat him. And Frieza would be stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Goku, Goku, and Goku would need to use Kaioken times 10 just to evenly match, Frieza and take him out, which is kind of BS. Now, after this is very important, and this is an argument I've been seeing a lot of people making, and explanation on how the Dragon Ball characters' powers work. But this scene right here in particular disproves that completely. This is a fight between Lavender and Vegeta. As Lavender and Vegeta are fighting, Lavender has the ability to create poison, and Goku saw him using this poison ability against Gohan and how it beat him. So he created a countermeasure to this by creating an energy barrier around him to be able to handle his punches. So now the poison wouldn't affect him. And then Vegeta jumps into the fight and does the same thing. So we see him fighting, and he says another barrier, and we see this weird whitish little rainbow colorish glow around Vegeta. So that was the barrier that he created around him. Now, why is this important in particular? This is important because a lot of people use this energy barrier as an argument to why the Dragon Ball characters get hurt by things that they shouldn't be, like bullets or a rock or a character that's far weaker than them getting punched by them, why they're getting hurt. Because the argument that a lot of people say is that, well, the Dragon Ball characters, as explained in Resurrection of F, is the fact that when their guard is down, they're susceptible to any forms of damage like a regular human being. And the way their power works is when they power up and their guard is up, they create an energy barrier around them. And this energy barrier is what allows them to take all this damage. But when their guard is down, that energy barrier goes down around them. And when it goes down, they get hit now, and they're able to be hurt by even bullets. pretty much meaning that Dragon Ball characters like Goku and Vegeta aren't actually really durably powerful. They don't have high durability. It's just that this energy barrier makes them more durable, and this energy barrier protects them. But without the energy barrier, their durability is like a regular human, which is fucking retarded. And it pisses me off because you guys are Dragon Ball fans, and you guys are the same guys complaining and crying about, these people are downplaying Dragon Ball. These people are haters of Dragon Ball. Downplay, downplay, downplay. And I agree. A lot of people downplay Dragon Ball characters' powers, and the Dragon Ball characters are more powerful than people make them out to be. But then you guys also make arguments for things like this and say shit like this that makes them sound weaker than they actually are. The fact that they would need an energy barrier constantly around them to tank these attacks would make them weaker. It doesn't make them strong at all. I don't know. I don't know how you guys think that makes them strong. So it's ridiculous to me that you guys complain about people downplaying Dragon Ball, and you guys are trying to defend Dragon Ball's power scaling and all this stuff, but then you guys agree with the stupid writing in Super that makes them look weaker, and then even make arguments that have never been stated and make headcanon saying that when their guard is up, they create an energy barrier around them, which was never a thing. I don't know where you guys got this. You guys acted like this was actually official and this was canon and this is how it actually works, when in reality, that was just your own headcanons that you guys try to make work so you can make excuses for the bad writing. But this does not make the characters look powerful. It makes them actually look a lot weaker than they are by saying that the only reason that these characters are able to take all this damage or take these like powerful attacks is because they create an energy barrier around themselves to protect themselves. Means that they're weak as shit, means that their durability is so low and so weak that the fact that they need they need something to protect them from taking that damage. Instead of them being so naturally durable that they can take all the stuff, and the reason that they're getting hurt by stuff that they shouldn't is due to the fact that it's bad writing. Instead of you guys admitting that it's bad writing, you would rather downplay them and say, no, 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 no. They're not actually really durably powerful. It's just that they have energy barriers around them to protect them. That is dumb. And then this right here already disproves the whole argument of the fact that when they power up, they have an energy barrier, because clearly right here, he has a barrier and it's something different and special. We've never seen this aura around them when they just power up, because that's not what happens. When they power up, all they do is they increase their own power. That is it. When their power is lower, they are weaker, but they should still have a certain level or baseline level of durability. And once they power up, they increase that power and get stronger. They don't create a energy barrier around themselves unless they specifically do that. And then we will specifically see it. So that argument that people make, stop right here, is done. That's bullshit. Clearly, when they do form an energy barrier around themselves, they have to specifically think about it and focus on it and actually activate it like a technique. And then also on top of it, we do see that there's a different aura around them, and they only do it once in a while against certain abilities that they would need a certain level of protection that it wouldn't physically directly, contact them or touch them. So no, they do not form an energy barrier around themselves when they power up. They only form an energy barrier when they activate it against specific attacks or abilities. And we see it right here in the Tournament of Power with Vegeta against Lavender and to counteract his poison. This is also would be really good against somebody who has antimatter power. So if somebody has the power to fire antimatter, when it comes into contact with positive matter, it creates an explosion, and then it cancels that energy out and turns into pure raw energy. So anybody with like antimatter power would be able to obliterate anybody, because they would have matter in their body unless they're created from something magical or they have reality warping, which means that their body is not purely matter and it's outside the realms of reality, right? But there's another way to counter it, and that's creating an energy barrier. Since an energy barrier would not be matter, it would be energy, pure energy itself. It would not be canceled out or erased by antimatter, meaning that if you create an energy barrier around yourself and get hit by antimatter, the antimatter won't affect you. So Dragon Ball characters could fight people with antimatter powers, or just combat antimatter by simply creating a barrier around themselves. So that's also very powerful. But also, the reason why, like I said, I want to add that in specifically was due to the fact that people were making that as an argument that that's why these characters are able to take these attacks, because they create an energy barrier. But that's clearly not true. And hopefully that dispels any arguments using that ever again. Now, after this, we see another one of the Universe 9, characters' powers and abilities. As the Supreme Kai there says, how is that Hippo's attack is absolute zero. So one of the characters there has the ability to create. He has like ice powers and cool powers of cooling people down. So he uses ice powers and created absolute zero to freeze Vegeta's arm. Now, this is very impressive because with absolute zero, you can freeze anything. Because what absolute zero isn't real in real life. I know we have terminology of absolute zero, but that is an actual absolute zero. That's just the closest to the coldest temperature that we could possibly get to. So we call it absolute zero. But what absolute zero pretty much does and means is that everything in the universe has some levels of vibrations, and all those vibrations create some form of friction, and that friction generates some form of heat, either thermal or just regular heat, right? And when you create that heat, there cannot be an absolute zero because absolute zero means that there's no temperature. It's completely cold. And for it to be no temperature, that would mean that there would be no vibrations. So if there's no vibrations, that means the whatever, uh, element or matter, whatever it would be completely solid and stationary and completely cold. So to have absolute zero, you would be able to freeze anything. If it's true absolute zero, not like our terms, our world's term of absolute zero, if it's real absolute zero, that means that whatever thing that has anything the universe has a bit of vibrations. Even space itself has its own form of vibrations. There's molecules vibrating. So if you have absolute zero, you can freeze those molecules, meaning you can freeze space, you can freeze, any object, you can freeze people, any form of person, no matter how powerful the person is, you can freeze them because their body would have vibrations and it will stop that vibrations. And this is very impressive because this is how Captain Cold fights against the Flash. Even though the Flash has the ability to go many times faster than the speed of light, go through time, go through other dimensions, do all this crazy stuff, he cannot handle absolute zero. So when Captain Cold uses a cold gun, he fires absolute zero from his gun and it freezes anything in place. And if the Flash is hit by it, he is completely frozen. And once when he's completely frozen, he can't even break out of it. Even his phasing ability won't work. So if you were to fire absolute zero against, either Professor Zoom, Wally West Flash, or Barry Allen Flash, if you were to fire absolute zero against them, it would freeze them in place. Even with their super speed, they would not be able to break out of it unless, like, maybe they would need to take some time to break out of it. But once when they're hit with it, they'll be frozen in place. And also with high levels of cold to the point of absolute zero, you can create this thing called Bose-Einstein condensate. And Bose-Einstein condensate is basically extreme cold temperature. And what you could basically do is slow down light itself. So even light, as fast as it goes, if you were to use absolute zero, creating Bose-Einstein condensate, you can basically slow down light to the point where it moves at like around 20 miles per hour, so around human levels of speed. So even though light goes at over 670 million miles per hour, you would be able to stop it and make it go, or not stop it, but slow it down to around the levels of a human speed, which is 22 miles per hour, or not 22 miles per hour, but around the 20 miles per hour range. So that's insane. Think about that. That's how impressive absolute zero is. It can freeze somebody like the Flash. It can freeze anybody. It can freeze space, and it can even slow down light to human levels of speed. But yet, even though it can do all those things, once when it hit Vegeta, it didn't stop him. It froze his arm, but Vegeta was able to break out of it and power up. By just simply powering up, he was able to shatter it. So absolute zero has zero effect on the Saiyans. It doesn't destroy them, and they're able to break out of it by just powering up, just showcasing how powerful they are. Now, after this, we had Kale as she goes into her berserk state. She goes up to fight against Goku. Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue. He fires a Kamehameha. As he fires it, she walks right through it, casually picks him up and slaps him, meaning that Berserk Kale at that state was able to tank Goku's Super Saiyan Blue Kamehameha. A lot of people will try to argue saying Goku was holding back, but even though he was holding back, the fact that he had to go Super Saiyan Blue to fire that attack to handle her is kind of ridiculous. And also the fact that he wasn't able to take her out and she was able to casually walk through it also doesn't make any sense. A lot of people try to say, well, he was, he misgauged her power, but that doesn't make any sense since Goku can literally sense her power, so he would have been able to tell how powerful she is and know how much power he had to use. Also, due to the fact that Goku's been throughout countless battles and has shown throughout, the years that throughout all these battles, he's been able to hold back his power without killing people, even regular humans. Even with how weak regular humans are compared to him, he's able to use his power and take them out without killing them and know how much power he needs to use to take them out, right? Yet now he's against somebody who's way more powerful, yet he doesn't know how to hold back his power without killing her. It's just stupid. I just think it's illogical. I just think this was once again bad writing to have Kale walk through it. It was just to recreate the whole Broly scene from the, Broly film and to be like, see, isn't that cool, guys? She did what OG Broly did. He walked through Goku's Kamehameha and just grabbed him and slammed him, and it was casual, right? But that makes Goku look weak, and it makes her look way too powerful than she actually should be. But after this, we see one of the Universe 11's team members, as she has the ability to create energy or these forms of like energy barriers. But we find out later on, as it was said by Goku, or I think it was 17, saying, looks like it's another dimension in there. So what she was actually creating with those barriers was a dimensional barrier. So as she creates it, it doesn't just create a force field to stop you, it basically traps you into another dimension. So she did this to both Kale and Kefla, and as Kale and Kefla were trapped in this other dimension, they fired an attack, breaking it and destroying it. So they were able to not only breach out of another dimension, but completely destroy it with their power. Now, after this, we have another character who has a pretty unique ability where he's also able to separate his energy, as Beer states. So he controls his internal energy to use feints. So he was creating feints to trick Gohan. After this, we see another anti-feat and a downplay. As the Zenos are trying to watch the fight between Dispo and Frieza, but Dispo is going so fast that they can't see, and they even say, we can't see, so Grand Priest has to give them God pads to see. This isn't a big anti-feat because we've been told so many times that the Zenos, or Zeno at least, is the most powerful being in all of existence. Nobody can beat him, yet even though they're that powerful, they're so slow that they can't see somebody on a lower level of power. It makes no sense. I know Dispo is fast, but that doesn't mean that he should be so fast that even the Zenos can't see him. So that's kind of an anti-feat to make Zeno look weak, because if he's that slow that he can't even see them, then if there's a character that's even really powerful and fast, they can literally get the jump on him, which it doesn't make any sense. But whatever. So after this, we get another statement that's kind of controversial, but I've made a video on it talking about it and arguing against it, where Topo is talking to Jiren, and he's saying that he's talking about Dispo. He's saying through repeated battles, he surpassed the speed of sound and light. And a lot of people say, see, this means that the Dragon Ball characters are not faster than the speed of light. Only at the Tournament of Power is when they got faster than the speed of light, and it was only really Dispo, which he's the fastest character there. Right? He's faster than light. He said he's faster than light, right? So these characters are not faster than light. And my argument, or my counter argument to that, was the fact that, yes, he said he was faster than light, but remember, he also said faster than sound. Clearly, what he was trying to tell Jiren right here wasn't that, oh, he's faster than light. See how insane he is? Like, none of us can go faster than light. He wasn't saying that. What he's saying is that Dispo is one of our fastest members, and throughout repeated battles, he has increased his speed throughout his continuous fights. He, at one point, was slower than sound and surpassed that, and then even surpassed light afterwards. So he was just giving an explanation on his power and how much he was increasing throughout the years, and how much of a difference he had in power, because the speed of light and sound are completely different. So if he just surpassed the speed of light, as what people are suggesting is that newly he just surpassed the speed of light. That's why they're making a big emphasis on it. But they weren't really making a big emphasis on it. He was just explaining that throughout battles, he's getting faster and faster, just like how the rest of the characters throughout, the story, they all say throughout countless battles, they got stronger and stronger. That doesn't mean that whatever strength that was explained is their current level of power. So just because he said light doesn't mean that's his current level of speed. Due to the fact that he even mentioned sound, which sound is way different, that's way slower than speed, meaning that, and it's important, because if you're mentioning sound and light, that clearly means that he's showcasing the significant jumps in power that and speed he has throughout these battles, not saying that that's his limit. And a lot of people are saying that he mentioned light, but that's just a measurement. That's the only reason they're saying that is because light is the fastest thing in the universe, and that's the fastest measurement we can have. So obviously you're going to hear people still comparing other characters to light, even though they're faster than light. That's just how it works. And if you want to use this and be, saying that he's only faster than light because he's only faster than light, or just newly faster than light because they mention light, right? then you would have to take that into consideration with the same thing with somebody like the Flash, because then you're just being hypocritical. Because in countless Flash stories, whether it's Barry Allen, whether it's Wally West, whether it's Eobard Thawne, countless times they've mentioned the Flash or the Zoom or any of these speedsters going faster than light. They've stated that Flash is about to go faster than the speed of light. He's going at 99.9% the speed of light. He's going almost at the speed of light. He's going faster than the speed of light. When the Flash was out racing Death, they stated that he just started to go faster than the speed of light and that Death can't even go at the speed of light itself. So if you guys want to fucking, try to downplay Dragon Ball characters and saying, well, they mention light, so that means they're below light or they're barely above light, which doesn't make sense because light is the highest form of measurement. There's nothing else higher. So what else are they going to use? But just because they mention light, that means that that's where they cap off, then we should use that same argument for the Flash characters, because all the other Flash characters, they constantly mention, even though we know they're many times faster than light, they keep on mentioning that, oh, he's going faster than light. He's just went at the speed of light. He's about to go at the speed of light. He's this close to the speed of light. And even Death, which people keep on using that feed about, Wally West outran Death. But then he even stated in that story by Jay Garrick stating that Death cannot go faster than, he's going faster than light and Death cannot go faster than light. So Wally West was not going much faster than light. He was just going a little bit faster than light, and Death can't even go at the speed of light. So that's even less impressive. So I don't want to hear you guys try to downplay Dragon Ball character speed and power by saying, well, right here, they already mentioned, light. So they're clearly only around that ballpark, but they mentioned it countless times throughout the Flash stories and have specifically stated certain characters can't even go at the speed of light. So if we want to use that argument, then the Flash characters are also barely faster than the speed of light. But we know that's not true. We know that they're way faster than the speed of light. So that's the same thing here. So don't use that BS argument with me. Now, after this, we have Dispo talking about his power. He says, I can increase my movement speed thousands of times in an instant, which is crazy, meaning that not only can he go really fast, but in an instant, he could speed blitz somebody by going thousands of times faster, meaning from either 1 to 9,000 times faster than his own speed, which is insane if you think about it. Because if you're fighting at somebody who's already fast, it's going to be hard to hit them. But if in an instant, in the blink of an eye, they can speed blitz you by going thousands of times faster than they're already going, that's insane. So that's how he's able to take down most of these guys, because not only is he fast, but as they try to attack him, he instantly jumps in thousands of times in terms of power to take them down, which is insane, because usually when we see them jumping in terms of powers like times 2 or times 10, so times thousands of times is insane. So he was using his speed and his speed blitzing ability to take out hit every time he tried to use his time skip ability. And he went on to explain, he said, you listen for the sound made by my muscles when they vibrate. So what happened here, what happens is, or what was happening in that fight was, hit every time he was trying to use his time skip, he was keep on getting speed blitz by Dispo, and Dispo was hitting him before he can activate it. And he was wondering why this was happening. So apparently the reason why this was happening was due to the fact that Dispo could hear Hit's muscles twitch. And as he tenses up his muscles right after, what he would do is he would tense up his muscles, they would create a vibration, then he would pause, and then right after that pause, he would go and use his time skipping ability. So since Dispo has his super speed, and then also he can increase his speed and blitz somebody thousands of times faster in an instant, meaning that he can instantly go way quicker, right? He also can hear the vibration. So some people are saying that means the characters are only a bit faster than the speed of sound because of it's the vibrations he's taking them out, then that means their attacks move at the speed of sound only. But that was only the muscles tensing up. What they explain is when he tenses up his muscles, he pauses for a moment. And once he pauses for a moment, that's when he speed blitzes them. It's not like he tenses up his muscles and instantly uses his technique. It's he tenses up his muscles, brief pause, and then with that brief pause, that's when he attacks him. If it was like he tenses up his muscles and then his power activates, then he wouldn't be able to do anything. But after this, even Champa tries to give like a suggestion on how to fight him off by saying he can probably hear, he was like talking about they can just make noises, and Vado says he can probably hear the target sound even among loud noises. So kind of like Daredevil and Superman, where they not only have super hearing, but they can also specifically target, specific sounds, so they can drown out other sounds, so it doesn't overwhelm them. After this, Beerus even goes on to explain, right before time skip, there is a brief pause when he tenses up. So like I said, there's a brief pause before he does it. So at that brief pause once he vibrates, since sound is, since he can hear the sound and he's very fast, he can just attack him while he does it before he activates it. So Super Saiyan God Goku jumps into the fight to fight against Dispo, and he's trying to use his instant transmission, but as he tries to use his instant transmission, he gets speed blitzed by Dispo, and he says there's no time for instant transmission. So just like Hit, whenever he tried to do his time skip before he was able to activate it and he tests up his muscles, Dispo speed blitzed him and knocked him out or knocked him around. And when Goku, whenever he was trying to do instant transmission, it takes him a brief moment to, focus on their energy. And at that brief moment, he would speed blitz him and take him down. So even with Goku's, instant transmission, a lot of people might say, well, if he's fighting against a person faster than him, he can use his instant transmission to get the jump on him. Yes, but he would still need at least a little bit amount of time to hone in on their energy before he can teleport. So if a character is way faster and can speed blitz him, they can speed blitz him before he uses that technique anyway. But Goku also showcases his capabilities as Dispo tries to attack him and he transforms into Super Saiyan Blue and attacks him. He says, your speed is pretty impressive, but your movements are too linear. So what happened was Goku would go into his Super Saiyan God form because Super Saiyan God would be a little bit faster. But then when, he would come, or not faster, is because it consumes less energy. Super Saiyan Blue, though it was faster and more powerful, it consumed too much energy. So he would go in Super Saiyan God to consume less energy. And then once when Dispo, right as he's about to attack, he would just instantly go into Super Saiyan Blue, jumping his speed and power by 50 times and then hitting him. And then also he explains that even though Dispo is faster than him and has the ability to speed blitz him, the fact that Dispo's movements are too basic and too linear, Goku can read his movements and fight him off. So even if, let's say, Goku can't use instant transmission and he's against a character that's way faster than him, can speed blitz him, the problem with those characters that are faster and that can speed blitz, they can't just simply rely on speed blitzing him or their speed. They would need to also be, strategic in their approach, but also be skillful as fighters. So they can't just use their speed. They have to have skill with that speed on top of it. Or will be able to read their movement, time them, even if they're faster, and catch them. So it doesn't matter how fast the character is compared to Goku. Let's say, like, for example, the Flash. The Flash is way faster than Goku, but the Flash doesn't know how to fight properly, and his movements are very basic and linear. Even though the Flash should technically be faster than Goku and speed blitz him, the fact that his movements are very basic and his fighting skills are on a lower level, if he tried to speed blitz Goku, Goku would still be able to hit him and tag him due to the fact that he would be able to time his speed or time him and also realize, his where he's going to hit him. So he would be able to hit him before he even comes at him. So that's the problem with a lot of fast characters is they rely solely on their speed. Now, if they have skill, then it will be a different thing. But if they rely solely on their speed, it's not going to beat Goku because he's going to really read up their movements at that point. And that was the point of it. So a lot of the people try to use speedsters, this and that, but I always mention the fact that raw speed and travel speed, which is raw speed, and combat speed are two different things. Travel speed, you can, yes, speed with somebody by going fast at them, but if you don't have the combat prowess, you can't do anything different. You're just going to be very basic. And somebody with combat prowess can use combat speed. So even if they're way faster in travel speed, somebody with combat speed can counteract somebody with travel speed because they would have skill there. And your travel speed, your speed in fighting wouldn't increase due to your travel speed more. It would increase due to your combat speed. So that's important. But after this, we have Goku going Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times I'm pretty sure it was times 20. Yeah, it was times 20. And he tries to jump Jiren, but Jiren is able to knock him back with just his eyes. He stands there and knocks him back, taking Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 Goku. Now, how powerful is Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 Goku? Since after the Goku Black arc to this point, there was a bit of times where Goku and Vegeta were fighting and training. So I would say Goku and Vegeta at this point got 2 times more powerful. So even though in the end of the Goku Black arc, both Goku and Vegeta got 200 times more powerful, meaning that at Super Saiyan Blue Max, their power will be 192 million times universal. The fact that there was some time and they did train before the Tournament of Power started, that would mean that they would have at least gotten 2 times stronger to that point. So their power would have been 384 million times universal. So before the Tournament of Power, they would have been 192 million times universal. By the time the Tournament of Power started, Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta should be 2 times more powerful than that since they trained. making them 384 million times universal in terms of power. So for Jiren to be able to knock back Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 Goku, that would be another 20 times multiplier, meaning that this Goku would be 7,680,000,000 times universal. So Jiren casually, by just a glance and just standing there, was able to knock back a Goku that had the power of 7,682, not 82, 7,680,000,000 times universal. He was casually able to knock back Goku, who had 7,680,000,000 times universal levels of power because of the 2 times multiplier throughout him getting stronger and the 20 times Kaioken. But that wasn't enough to handle him. And then 17 even says he hit him multiple times in an instant. So him to stand there, it looked like he was just standing there, but he hit him multiple times in an instant. Goku goes on to say, as the fight was progressing, um, Krillin and the rest of the guys were like, but Goku could just use Kaioken times 20. He should have that ability at this point, right? And Beerus is like, yeah, he should, but it's not going to work because he's already been using it. He says, I can't believe even King Kai's times 20 as Blue won't damage him. So yeah, he was using times 20 because the Z Fighters were like, he could just use that times 20. He should have that right at this point, right? But Beer said he was already using it and it had no effect on him. So he was fighting against times 20. After this, you have Goku going into the air and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to use the Spirit Bomb so he gathers energy to fire at him. So now he's firing Kaioken times 20 Spirit Bomb. So that would mean that this attack would be even more powerful than what he was when he was trying to fight Jiren at times 20. So at times 20, he was 7,680,000,000, right? And since now he's using a technique like the Spear Bomb, let's say is the 2 times multiplier. So let's multiply the Spear Bomb's power by 2 times. So this attack would be 15,360,000,000 times universal. So he was able to fight Goku, who is over 7 billion times universal, and now he's fighting back against an attack that's over 15 billion times universal. So 15,360,000,000 times universal. Let's see if that would actually work on him. No, it did not. He was able to actually push it back and handle it quite pretty well. It was a little bit of a struggle, but he was still able to handle it. So even with the 15 billion times universal levels of power, it was not enough to beat him. And he was showcasing so much insane power that Supreme Kai was saying, this power feels different from anyone we've ever faced before. And then Whis goes on to say, like a god of destruction. He's the one who's reached that state, perhaps even surpassed it. There's a universe where it lives immortal, even a god of destruction can't defeat. So what was happening was, first, Supreme Kai's like, he's way more powerful than anybody we've ever faced before, which makes sense, but also is very impressive because this would also include Zamasu, who merged with the timeline itself. A lot of people say, no, Goku couldn't handle merge Zamasu, that Zamasu that merged with the timeline, because when he tried to attack him, he couldn't beat him. And I already mentioned in that video that Goku was depleted of power and it was, struggling. That's why he was depleted of power. And also, how are you going to defeat somebody who's infused into the entire timeline without wiping out the entire timeline? So there's also a conflict of interest right there. But even if you guys want to, those people that are making that argument, it doesn't matter anyway, because Supreme Kai himself states that he is way more powerful than anybody they've ever faced before, and that would include him because he was there when Zamasu did that. So he's including Zamasu, meaning that Jiren with his level of power is stronger than Zamasu, who merged with an entire timeline, meaning that Jiren is more powerful than an entire timeline, with an additional power of a powerful deity combined into it, which would make it even more powerful. So that's just crazy if you guys think about that. That's crazy. Jiren's power is so high that he is literally the most powerful being that they've ever faced, beyond timeline merge Zamasu and beyond even a timeline itself. And to the point that even Whis was saying his power is like that of a god of destruction. He reached the state of it. He perhaps even surpassed it. So he's either surpassed a god of destruction or the state of being a god of destruction. And then he mentions the statement that he gave to Goku and Goku and the rest of the guys. I think it was in the Goku Black arc or in the beginning of this arc where he mentioned the fact that there's a mortal out there that has a power that's even stronger than a god of destruction or a god of destruction can defeat. So he's saying it's Jiren. It could be Jiren or it could be somebody else, but Jiren is still also around that ballpark, meaning that Jiren is more powerful than Murzumasu. He's more powerful than a timeline. He's the most powerful person they faced. He has the power that's on the level of God Destruction, probably even surpassed it. He's probably the mortal that was even so strong that not even a God of Destruction can defeat. So after that, after we had the whole event, Goku, when he used his Spirit Bomb, it failed. As it failed, he fell into it, and they thought he died because he exploded, but he apparently absorbed the energy from the Spirit Bomb, and this activated his Ultra Instinct. As he activated his Ultra Instinct at this point, it expanded out so much energy and so much power that it shook the world of Void. Krillin said, "The fighting stage, no, the whole world of Void is being shaken by a wild flow of power." So the activation of Ultra Instinct itself through his transformation literally basically shook the world of Void, which is stated to be infinite. And I know Surfboard said it's not. I don't agree with that. Like I said in the translation, it said literally that it was an infinite nothingness. So I'm going with this in infinite dimension. Though it's a little. Here's the thing: a lot of people, when they hear a character shaking something like a universe or a dimension or like an infinite dimension like this, they're like, "Well, that means that it scales directly to that." But that's not how it works. The way it works is when you shake something, it does have some portional like correlation with terms of power, but it's not an exact one-to-one, you know? So like, for example, when a character shakes an entire planet, it is them shaking a planet, but that does not mean they have planet levels of destructive power because they're shaking the planet, you know? It can be somewhere around there. From what I've seen from other channels, like let's say a character shakes the entire planet, that'll make it multi-continental or country level or something like that. It will be around a high level scaling of power, but it will be not to the total sum of the thing they're shaking. So just because a character can shake the entire planet doesn't mean that that is a planet level feat. Same thing with this. Just because he's shaking an infinite void does not mean it's an infinite power feat. But then you can say, well, it is infinite, so you're doing that. So I guess you can have some arguments there because it's a little bit more different. But I just want to say it's not exact one to one with like, having the power to completely destroy an infinite dimension. So that's just the case. But as this fight is progressing, Goku actually in his Ultra Instinct state, not only did he get stronger, but his power also progresses and transitions and gets stronger throughout the fight. Because they say with every block, he hits Jiren more quickly, sharply, and heavily. So his entire attacks and his movement increase as the fight progresses. Also, since, the Spirit Bomb didn't work on Jiren, and now he's fighting as Goku's fighting as Jiren with his Ultra Instinct Omen. Even though it's not exactly on par with Jiren's level of power, it's still pushing back. So it's clearly doing more than what the Spirit Bomb did. So this power of the Ultra Instinct at this point should be 2 times stronger than the Spirit Bomb at least. So with Ultra Instinct Goku, he should be 30,720,000,000 times universal because the Spirit Bomb was 15 billion times universal. So after that, we have them talking and they're saying, but how is he able to do it? Even if he absorbed the Spirit Bomb's energy, he shouldn't be able to match him because the Spirit Bomb wasn't able to do anything. As Krillin says, but the power of the Spirit Bomb didn't work on Jiren. And then we says, even if the power boosted him, it didn't explain how he can match it. And that's basically what they're talking about. So they themselves acknowledge the fact that the Spirit Bomb didn't work on him, so him just absorbing it shouldn't make sense to match it. So the only logical explanation could be is that the Ultra Instinct that he had at that point was more powerful than the Spirit Bomb itself. So if the Spirit Bomb was 2 times, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 Goku's power, then we'll have to multiply the Spirit Bomb two times to that, and then we'll have to multiply the Spirit Bomb itself with the Ultra Instinct times 2 more than that. So that's how do we got 30 billion. And is just 30 billion, and it's just fair and reasonable. But after this, we have Hit versus Jiren, and this is where we saw some of the more crazier feats from Jiren. As Hit's time skip wasn't working and it was failing in Hit, we started explaining setting Hit Son can hide in separate spaces he's created. He said by storing up that time he skipped. And I mentioned this earlier with Avato. So he says, in the real world, he leaves a phantom of himself. That's how you see it. So like when people people might be thinking like, well, how come we see we see Hit there, and Goku, when he time skips, he sees him there, but he's not stopping time. When he's skipping forward in time, whatever actions that Goku or the other characters were going to have doesn't happen. It's just them stuck at that point, but he skips forward, but they do still see him there, but that just basically leaves a little phantom there. And then the fact that they mentioned that he steals some time, this is really important because this is where he uses it for his ultimate ability. Besides just creating a separate parallel world from the capture time that he has from skipping forward, he's also able to use this for a specific ability itself. I think it was called time binding cage or something like that. But he used it on Jiren. He said hit sign will bind you in a cage of time. And then he tried to attack him to finish him off, but Jiren was able to move, and then he basically crushed it and destroyed it. Now, this is important due to the fact that a lot of arguments people say is, well, when people are surpassing hits time skip, they're just surpassing hits power, which he's using to skip forward in time. That's true, but his time binding cage is not the same thing as his time skip. Time skip is not actually manipulating time. He's using his power to go forward in time, whereas his time binding cage is literally just time itself. It's not his power. So when he skips forward, he gets that stored up time, and he can create a separate world, and then he can also use that to use in this technique. Once when he hits you with the technique, now you're basically stuck through a time stop. So time is stopped around you. Everybody else is fine, but the time that you're hit with is stopped. And the only way you would be able to move through it is not through overpowering hits technique or hits power, because hits power has nothing to do with this. This is specifically time itself. So for you to surpass time skip, you just have to surpass hit. For you to surpass its time binding cage move, you would literally have to surpass time itself. You can't just surpass hit. It doesn't matter how much stronger you are than hit, you're not going to surpass it unless you surpass time itself. And Vados goes on to say the somewhat controversial statement, which I don't think is controversial, but some people like Surfbones like to disagree with it, where she says, this means Jiren's Jiren possesses power that transcends time itself. Then Supreme Kaiba says, are you telling me that even time itself means nothing against Jiren's strength? So there is that. A lot of, like I said, people at Surfbones and other down players try to say, no. That doesn't mean anything. That's not actually time itself. He just surpassed Jiren's power, which Goku did. And it's like, that's fucking stupid. Here's the thing. She literally first said time itself. She would have said, and she said transcends. She says he transcends time itself. She would have just simply said, oh, he surpassed hits power. He's beyond hits power. And if that was the case, why would that be such an impressive thing? Because we already know Jiren is way more powerful than Hit. We already saw Goku doing that to Hit. So why would it be so special and be such an important thing for her to mention now, right? And why would she say specifically time itself? So it's just too weird of an argument to make, and it's just too contradictory. If that was the case, she would have said he surpassed, Hit himself, and there wouldn't be no point of mentioning it since we already know that Jiren's stronger than Hit, and then also especially no point of mentioning it due to the fact that we've already seen Goku do the same shit too, so it's pointless. And then the fact that Supreme Kai literally doubled down by saying, "You mean he surpassed time itself?" He's shocked. He's shocked because he surpassed time. If it was just hits of power, why would they be shocked? The fact that he surpassed time itself, so it had to be specifically that. And then the move, like I said, it was him using and manipulating time, so it adds up. Anybody else who has counterpoints, it seems like they're just trying to downplay it, and they don't have any real logical or reasonable argument. It just seems BS because they wouldn't mention it, they wouldn't focus on if it was just that, and they wouldn't say time itself, and he says his strength. Now, some people say, well, how can he do that if he's not faster than time? They're saying because he's not faster than time. I'm not going to argue if he is or not, but people's assumption is that if a character is put through stop time or in a dimension where time is stopped, that they cannot move unless they are faster than time itself. But that's not the only way. There's 3 ways to beat time. 1 is being faster, though, which we conventionally see. 2 is being a being who's beyond time. So you're a being who exists outside of time, so time won't have effect on you. You don't need to go fast. Your existence alone will negate time manipulation as a whole. And then the third one is what Jiren did through strength. Just like how you can muscle your way through time with speed, why wouldn't you be able to do it through your strength? So when people say he's not that fast, he doesn't need to be. He's doing through his sheer strength. They even mention the strength specifically. So it doesn't really matter. Now, after this is not really that impressive thing. I just wanted to talk about this because people keep on mentioning Kaba and his base is equivalent to base Vegeta, and he's close, but it's not really, I don't really believe that. I already made my video when I talked about Universe 6 versus 7. I mentioned that people were saying that he would beat Gogeta. Dragon Ball Super's power scale is way above GT's, but does Kabe actually equate to Vegeta's base power? And I said no because Vegeta was holding back because he tanked the punch of Super Saiyan, and he was just smiling, and he was also a Super Saiyan. And then also Vegeta was just doing it to hype him up because he was trying to train him, just like how Beerus lied to Goku saying that he's the second strongest guy he's ever fought, when in reality he was the first strongest, and Monaka was nobody. And then this really proves it because we see Kawa fighting against one of the contestants in the tournament power, and she's this big ball girl, and she hits him, and apparently she knocks him out of his Super Saiyan form, and he goes into base. So if he was as strong as Vegeta, that wouldn't have happened. First of all, she's a fodder character. How is she knocking him out of Super Saiyan into base? But then second of all, some people would say, well, what? Well, that doesn't mean that, Vegeta would have been able to handle her just because she looks like a fodder character. But we see later on Vegeta blasts her away in base casually. Vegeta beats her easily in base casually, but she was able to knock Kabe out of Super Saiyan 1 with just a hit, with one single hit. And then on top of it, Kabe had to go Super Saiyan 2 just to beat her, which is ridiculous that he had to power up to Super Saiyan 2 to beat somebody that weak. So I just don't really buy it. But after this, we get into some more BS as we get into Kel and Caulifla were fighting against Goku. They were losing, and he went Super Saiyan God and started beating them. So they fused, became Kefla as they fused. Vado said, and more than the sum of their parts, their powers increased tens of times, which isn't that impressive. Tens of times. We've seen these characters getting way stronger, like the whole Goku Black thing. He was like 100 times stronger than them. The Vegeta getting 200 times stronger. So it doesn't really, it's not that crazy. And we saw like Dispo getting over thousands of times faster in an instant. That's crazy. But we do see her power in base as she speed blitz Super Saiyan God Goku, and he's actually scared. Some people might say, well, he lost energy, so that's why she's able to do all this stuff. But trust me, as I go throughout all the stuff she did, throughout their fight, you're gonna see why that doesn't really matter. But as she's fighting, they say an overwhelming Goku with unbelievable power and speed, meaning base Kefla is stronger than Super Saiyan God Goku. And they do mention, he says he's using King Kai Fist without full stamina. So they do mention he doesn't have full stamina, but he does also use Kaioken. So he was fighting against base Kefla in Super Saiyan God. He was getting pretty much whooped. And then he went Super Saiyan Blue, and then was beating base her. So base Kefla is equivalent to Super Saiyan God Goku, but Super Saiyan Blue Goku is stronger than her, so she had to go Super Saiyan 1. And Super Saiyan 1 was not only able to handle Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but she was able to handle Super Saiyan Blue Goku Kaioken times 20, even though he was lower on stamina, so it should make him a little bit weaker, but still, that's a lot of power to use against a Super Saiyan 1. But then after that, they say against the terrifying power of Super Saiyan Kefla, he must have decided he couldn't defeat her otherwise. So Vegeta, not Vegeta, Whis even acknowledges the fact that Super Saiyan Blue was not enough to handle Super Saiyan Kefla. So he had to go Kaioken. He was forced to do it. It wasn't that he was just doing it casually. Her power as Super Saiyan was too much, so it forced him to go into it. So he had to fight him that way. So some people might still say, well, he was still depleted on power, but even with stamina a bit low, he shouldn't have been needing that much power to beat a weak ass fusion like that, especially with the whole Zamasu stuff, the Fuse Zamasu, which I will talk about that. But after this, he goes on to say, Kefla-san's energy rivaled the power of the spirit bomb he bathed in. So, like I said, even if you guys want to give, Goku benefit of the doubt and say, well, his power was lower because of the stamina, this stamina, that, okay. But that statement there ruins that argument because he literally states that Super Saiyan Kefla's power rivaled the spirit bomb that he bathed in. So the 15 billion times universal, or over 15 billion times universal level of power, she rivaled that in Super Saiyan alone. So I do not want to hear any of you guys saying low on stamina, this and that stamina, because we literally right after stated that her power, comparing it to something else that was before he, was depleted power, he compared it to that, and he himself literally said that it rivaled that. So she matches that level of power 15 billion times the universal, which doesn't make any sense why she would be that powerful. But I'm going to go through a little bit more of her statements, and once I'm done with that, I will explain a little more, and then I'll also talk about the Fusamasu and how come it's kind of BS about what happened with Fusamasu against them compared to her. But after that, she says, I feel like I could blow away an entire universe in one shot. Because a lot of people still think they are not universal. She's made a universal statement right there. And then they go on to say, it might even surpass Sun's earlier level oh no, if she hits him, not even Goku will be able to survive. So what happened was she was like a Super Saiyan 1. He went Ultra Instinct against her because he couldn't beat her any other way. As he transformed to Ultra Instinct, he was whooping on, Super Saiyan Kefla. And then we see later on, when she made a statement about the entire universe, she went to Super Saiyan 2. And once she went to Super Saiyan 2 and started powering up, it was stated that her power might even rival Goku's power earlier. When they mean earlier, they mean when he went Kaioken, not Kaioken, when he went Ultra Instinct. When he went Ultra Instinct the first time, that's what they mean. So that would mean two things. One, that would mean that this Ultra Instinct to beat Kefla would have to be stronger, and then and that also Kefla is on that level of power. So base Kefla is equivalent to Super Saiyan God Goku. Uh, and then Super Saiyan 1 Kefla is stronger than Super Saiyan Blue, stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20, and rivals the power of the Spirit Bomb, which would be 2 times that already. And in Super Saiyan 2 form, she literally rivals the power of Ultra Instinct Goku when he first fought against Jiren, which would have been another 2 times multiplier. And then also the statement by Master Roshi stating that if her attack hits him, even in his instinct state, at that point, which was his strongest form, technique, ability, whatever you want to call it, it was at him at his strongest, even with the multiplier, even at him at his strongest, she would have been able to beat him if she hit him solidly, which is fucking stupid. It's pathetic. I know I'm supposed to be sticking to specifically power scaling, but it's kind of hard to avoid the blatant bad writing and, inconsistency. So yeah, that's what I mean by Dragon Ball Super's power scaling makes no sense. It's kind of dumb. It's illogical. The fact that she can fuse and get this much power, push him this far, even his most powerful state couldn't beat him or was struggling to beat her. And could have even possibly lost if he got hit clean is kind of bullshit in my eyes, but that's what they wrote in the story. So yeah, she's that powerful. And the reason why I think this is BS is because not only that, but due to the fact that they're both before they couldn't even go Super Saiyan 3 yet. Their fuse state is supposed to be rivaling the godly levels. Even if it's a fusion, it doesn't matter. It only said they got 10 times, tens of times stronger. That's not that much. And we already saw all the way back in the Goku Black arc what, Goku Black and Zamasu fusing together. Goku Black was already stronger than both Goku and Vegeta. He got more of a power boost when he got learned about Rage, and then he powered up and he surpassed both Goku and Vegeta. And Zamasu, though weaker, he was still around Super Saiyan Blue levels of power, right? And then you got them both fusing. So you got one character by himself who's stronger than both of them, and then you have another character who's around that level of power combined. And then yet they also stated with Gowasu and Supreme Kai saying that he's way more powerful than ever. His power is bottomless, is endless, and this and that, and made all these crazy statements. Yet, even with that being said, then later on we see him fighting against Vegeta and Trunks. He loses in that clash. He loses against Goku by himself, and even gets damaged by Goku by himself. Then gets knocked down to the ground and gets his halo broken by Kaioken times 10 Goku. He should have been way stronger. So it doesn't make sense. How is Kale and Kalpa two people who by themselves were way weaker than Goku and couldn't handle him, but then they fuse and now they're able to handle Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20, the rival the power of, the Spirit Bomb, and then rival the power of Goku when he first went Ultra Instinct, and then now having an attack that could have killed this version of Goku who should be even stronger. And I'm going to do the calculations for that, but I'm going to do it after this little rant part. But yeah, it's just kind of BS that they get that much more powerful, even though before when they're separated, they're far weaker. But then you have Goku Black, who's stronger than both Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta, and Zamasu, who's around somewhere around that level, meaning that they're both way more powerful. But then when they fuse, they're getting dogged on. It was just dumb. So yeah, the writing is bad. The power inconsistency is bad. So yes, we do see some crazy feats. We do see them multiply their power like 30 billion times universal, which is insane. But then we also have stupid stuff like that makes them look weak. So these characters are that powerful, it shouldn't make sense that these other characters get such a significant boost in power. It makes no sense, but that's just how it goes. So after this, we have the Universe 2 characters Rian and all of them getting eliminated, except for the last 3, which are the 3 guys that are counterparts of them. And they created a technique. I think it was called a Pretty Black Hole or something like that. They create this star thing this heart thing that looks like a black hole. Android 18 fires an energy blast. It actually gets the energy and it circles it around itself. Now, there's some arguments, people saying that this is a black hole. Other people saying this is not a black hole. For me personally, it might not be an exact black hole, but it does have a lot of properties of a black hole, and it could be pretty much similar to one. And I don't see why there wouldn't be, because her energy getting fired at it, instead of going directly at it or whatever, it curved around it and it was getting spun around, which that's what would happen with light and energy that goes towards the event horizon of a black hole. So it kind of does add up there at least. And then they go on to say focus into one point to create a massive gravity, just like how a black hole is. And then we see Goku 17, it's 18 inside there. As they're all inside there, Goku said it's heavier than the machine at Bomos. And we know how heavy the gravity machine can get to 500 times Earth's gravity. I'm pretty sure black holes are around like billions of times, but still, Goku at this point in base should be way more than that too, because it can go in max and he can handle that in base. So it should be way more than that. So the fact that it has some effect on Goku, even if it's a depleted Goku, it should be insane. It isn't that impressive though for Goku or 17, since their powers should be way astronomically above black holes. Whether it is a black hole or not, it doesn't matter. Goku should be above that. I do think it is. But where it's actually really impressive is for 18, because unlike 17 and Goku, who've gotten significantly powerful somehow, 17 did, 18 doesn't seem to have gotten really any jump in power. And the fact that she could handle a black hole would pretty much mean that her power level from around the Android Saga, which was the last time we saw it, maybe she's a little bit stronger than that, but a little bit stronger version than when we first saw her, can handle a black hole, meaning that the characters all the way back in the Cell Saga probably could have handled a black hole. That's insane. And we see another thing that kind of resembles a black hole as Goku fires a Kamehameha, and it also bends and curves inside there. So it kind of does act like a black hole too. So I can see why people would say it's a black hole. But then again, these guys are way more powerful than a black hole. They can destroy multiple universes, and a black hole pretty much doesn't mean anything at that point. Though, like I said, it is impressive for 18. But it does curve it, and then they even call it a pretty black hole. So it does have the name, but names don't always mean those things. But after this, we have another new big threat. It's Aniraza, and he's basically an amalgamation of, I think, Universe 10's people. They're like the robot ones, but they all combined. They created this mega one, and as they created him, he showcases some of his power. He actually has some pretty cool feats. One he does where he punches the ground, and he punches it so hard that we see this glow and this weird like warping effect. And as we see it, Krillin says, "What the?" It's punch warped, and the Pickle says it's bending space through sheer power. So what he did basically was, once when he got all the other versions, other beings in that Universe 10 combined, they increased his power significantly. Or no, it's not Universe 10. That's where Zamasu is from. I forgot what universe he's from. I'm just gonna say, I don't know. Let's just say Universe 3. So everybody from Universe 3, they combined, or not everybody, it was like a few of them, they combined, they created him, and he had so much power that when he punched, it created this red glow and a warping effect. Even Krillin said it's his punch warped, and then Piccolo explained more, saying that it bends space through sheer power. So just like, you can fold space like a wormhole and stuff. That's one way to bend space, and you can do it usually to a high amount of gravity, like a black hole. Black holes usually bend space around it, but the fact that he was able to bend his or warp his punch through space directly through sheer power is insane. So now we have Jiren, who surpassed time itself, and now we have Aniraza, who's a character whose pure strength also surpassed space itself. So entire space got warped through. That's insane, because usually characters who could do warp punches are doing it through techniques. So a character doing it through their sheer power is insane. You're basically bending the laws and fabric of reality and space and time to your own through your own power. So that's insane. So that means he can punch from across through dimensions and through other far distance by just sheer power of punching through space as a whole. So like I said, we have Jiren, who surpassed time, and it seems like Aniraza has surpassed space also. And after this, we do see how powerful he is as the rest of the Universe 7 members get together to jump him. We have Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, Golden Frieza, fully powered Super 17, Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and fully powered Mystic Gohan. So we have 5 of these characters. Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta would be, pretty much Super Saiyan Blue level. You have Golden Frieza, who would be Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10 level. You would have 17, who's around the ballpark of Super Saiyan Blue level. And then you will have Gohan, who is literally Super Saiyan Blue level himself. So we have pretty much 3 Super Saiyan Blues, 1 Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, and then one guy who's around the ballpark of Super Saiyan Blue, and they all work together to blast and fight Uraza, but they couldn't fully beat him until 17 went in and hit him in his weak spots to take him out. So he's that powerful. I also forgot to do a multiplication the for Goku's second time going into Ultra Instinct. His second time would mean that he would be 61,444,000,000 times universal in full power. So after this, we have both Goku and Vegeta pulling up on Jiren to fight him. Goku goes to Kaioken times 20, and then Vegeta pulls up in his blue evolved form, which some people did their own calculations, and I think what people pretty much summarized is Super Saiyan Blue evolved Goku Vegeta should be his version of Kaioken times 20 and equivalent to it, meaning that Super Saiyan Blue, both of them are compared, but the ones when Goku goes Kaioken times 20, he gets 20 times more powerful. So Vegeta's kind of like 20 times weaker, but once when he got Super Saiyan Blue evolved, now he's able to increase his power by 20 times. So most likely Super Saiyan Blue involved is a 20 times multiplier, meaning that Jiren now is fighting as 2 Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 characters simultaneously and is able to handle them pretty effortlessly, which makes sense seeing as how he was able to beat, even though Goku was, by doing it by himself, he also had the Spirit Bomb and then the Ultra Instinct, which was 2 times more than that. It makes sense that he was able to handle them. But I guess if you want to make for an argument, it really depends though, on this though. Um, because we know Ultra Instinct, right? It multiplied every time. But does that mean his base also got stronger throughout that times? Like every time he activates it, his base gets stronger, and that's why? Or is it the transformation itself? I'm going to put it as more as the transformation. So I'm going to say their base level of power shouldn't have changed, but the power afterwards. I know a lot of people say, well, they got stronger. Like, no, but they only mentioned it for his base power, for Ultra Instinct. They never mentioned for his base power getting that much stronger, but whatever. He's still able to handle both of them. It doesn't really matter. They're not going to be strong enough to beat him. After this, they talk about Dispo again, saying Dispo, the super speed warrior capable of faster than light speeds. The narrator said it. I know a lot of people are going to use that as an argument. Like I said, we've heard this for Flash and all these other speedsters. So it's like, you can't really try to discredit the Dragon Ball character's power and speed by saying they mention light speeds. Like, yeah, that's the highest form of, measurement of speed. How else are you going to measure speed? So it's going to be common to hear it, and you hear it in comic books. So if we're being fair, we can do the same thing with them. They said it for Superman also. So it's like, it's just a common trope where they mention and repeat it over and over again. And there's something that happens in this story where it kind of also goes into my point when it comes to that. But after this, we have Supreme Kai talking about Topo now. Topo actually goes into his God destruction mode. Basically, he goes ultra ego. And Supreme Kai says it's almost identical to God's. And then the other Supreme Guy said, a candidate to be our Universe 11's God of Destruction. So yeah. So he activated his God of Destruction form, and it was almost identical to it, so it wasn't fully perfected. And the other guy saying, here's a candidate to be a God of Destruction anyway, so it makes sense. So you have Jiren, who's stated to surpass God Destruction, and then you have Topo, who's stated to be a God of Destruction. So you have 2 God Destruction level characters, and it will fluctuate their powers because not like all the gods of destruction are the same levels of power. We have differences in power, but they're probably more. Well, at least Topo's on the more lower level. Maybe Jiren's a little bit higher, but who knows? They do change things quite a bit in Dragon Ball from there. So now after this, we have, as they're fighting, they explain a little bit more about Topo's power. They what was happening was pretty much every attack that they were firing at Topo was not working. It was just disintegrating and going away. It had literally no effect on him. So Krillin was saying, why don't attacks work on him? And Beer stated he can surround himself with energy of destruction. So basically what was happening was no matter what attacks they were throwing at him, whether they're picking parts of the stage and throwing at him or physical attacks or energy attacks, it was not harming him. It was just poofing away and getting wiped out of existence. And they were wondering why. So Beerus explained the fact that since he has Akaya energy right now, he might not have fully mastered it, but he does have some around him, and he was able to form it around him like an energy barrier where but unlike usual energy barriers where it basically protects you, this not only protects you but also disintegrates things. So it's pretty much it's pretty much like it's offensive and defensive. It's a defensive because it protects you from damage, but it's also offensive because it can hurt others. Now he did lose though because it cannot cancel out all forms of energy. It depends on how much energy you have because later on Vegeta uh, basically does the self-destruction move, though he survives. He unleashes all of his power out, and as he does, it's able to combat Topo's power, even though as he lets out all of his Hakai energy and it basically cancels it out, beating him. After this, though, we have Frieza trying to fire an attack, saying this. Then how about this power to destroy an entire planet? So I know that's kind of a dumb statement, and some people mention the fact that it makes no sense why he would mention that. And some of you guys are also probably going to be wondering why I put it in this video, even though it's not that impressive. The only reason I put it in this video was for the whole dispo thing, because people keep on saying, well, they mentioned light. That means he's only as fast as that. But they also had somebody like Frieza mentioning a plan destroying an attack when we already know that he can do that. He did that all the way back then. We're way past that. We're at universal levels of power, or even, even above that. So it's like, why would he mention that? That's not impressive. The only reason he's mentioning it is because it's one of those things that stories do all the time, where they have characters repeat certain feats or statements for certain feats, even if they're no longer that impressive. So if they can repeat something like destroying a planet, which we know they're way above that, it's no surprise that they would mention something like light speed when they should be also above that. So let's just be honest here. So after that, we have Goku going, and he goes into he's fighting against him again in his Ultra Instinct form. So Goku goes back into his Ultra Instinct form again to fight against Jiren, but it's not doing enough damage to him. So he fights against him. Uh, and like I said before, every time he goes into Ultra Instinct, he's going to have a multiplier. So when he first uh, fought Jiren, he was at Kaioken times 20. He couldn't beat him, so he used the Spirit Bomb. So that was 2 times Kaioken times 20 Goku. Then he won Ultra Instinct, which was 2 times stronger than his Spirit Bomb version. And then when he fought against Kale, he got 2 times even stronger. So that would be a 2 times stronger version. That's where we got to the 61 billion. And then he won Ultra Instinct again. So that should multiply his power by another 2 times. And that should be around 122,880,000,000. So at that point, when he fought against Jiren again, Jiren was whooping him still, but Goku powered up more. So his power should have been 122,888,000,000. But Jiren was stronger than him, so let's say by 2 times more, right? If we put that by 2 times more, then that would mean that Jiren's power at that point was 245,760,000 times universal. Now, after that, even though Goku is getting beaten, he unlocks his new form and full power of Ultra Instinct as he's mastered it now. So he has mastered Ultra Instinct. As he does, he creates this galaxy underneath the stage. We see it looks pretty cool. A lot of people say, well, look, he had the power to create a galaxy. Some people say it's not a galaxy because of the size. It is pretty small. It's like compared to the stage, and it is literally touching the stage, so we know it's right next to it. It's not that big. So even if it is a galaxy, it's very, very small. So yeah, I agree. I don't think it's really a galaxy, but in the end of the day, personally, I just think it's a visual representation of the power to make it look cool. It isn't meant to be taken serious or literal, like a lot of people think, but whatever. Um, so yeah, I guess you can say it's a galaxy, but it's really small. It's most likely just a visual representation, so I wouldn't take it too serious. But after this, as they're going, they say, could his power now be far beyond that of Jiren's? So as Goku goes into his Mastered Ultra Instinct state, he is actually beating up Jiren now. So before he went into Ultra Instinct, he got stronger by 2 times, but Jiren was still stronger than him by 2 times, beating him. And then now Goku unlocked Mastered Ultra Instinct, which now he's beating Jiren. So that means that with his newfound power of Master Ultra Instinct, uh, it should, since it's beating Jiren, he should be 2 times more powerful than Jiren, right? So now we multiply that power compared to Jiren's. So now it goes to 491,520,000,000. So now, so Jiren was around like 225 billion times Goku, or 261 billion times the, universal. He was over 261 billion times universal, right? And that was his power when he was beating Ultra Instinct Goku. But when Goku went Mastered Ultra Instinct, he was beating on him. So now Goku's power is almost at 500 billion times universal. So he's 491,520,000,000 times universal. So Jiren at this point, like I said, 261 billion over 261 billion times universal, and Goku over 491 billion times 491 billion times universal and Master Ultra Instinct. So as that was happening, he was pretty much beating Jiren as he was beating Jiren and stuff, Jiren was kind of losing his mind and going crazy, and he felt like his whole journey through life about, not caring about anybody and only think about himself, and trying to go all overboard and like push himself to this crazy extent. He felt like it was a failure and it didn't get him anywhere because Goku surpassed him, and he felt like he should have gotten stronger. But as this happens, this actually increases Jiren's power as he starts to start tweaking out, and he just goes crazy. As he goes crazy, his power shoots up, as they say. Jiren's energy has increased dramatically. And we know in Dragon Ball characters, their power is basically, not only is it just like, them training and getting stronger, but it's also based off of their emotions and their mental state. So if they're more mentally like enraged or crazed or like whatever, or calm, sometimes it can increase. Unless they're scared or like doubting themselves, it will decrease. But he was able to increase his power by basically losing his shit and feeling that he failed, and everything he did in life was pointless. So by doing that, he was able to surpass Master Ultra Instinct Goku and actually beat him this time. And as he was beating him, he surpassed him. So that would mean that Jiren actually got 2 times more powerful than Master Ultra Instinct Goku, and got 4 times more powerful than he was before. So that would be another 2 times multiplier, meaning that Jiren at this point will be 983 billion 40 million times universal, while Goku is around 491 billion times universal. So Jiren is almost 1 trillion times universal levels of power. So that's how much powerful he got with his enraged state. But as he's fighting his Goku, Goku also gets powered up because he threatens to kill his family. He fires an energy attack at the people of the crowd. Goku deflects it, and this pisses him off. As this pisses him off, it gives him an enraged power form of Master Ultra Instinct. So though he got a power up already with Master Ultra Instinct by beating up Jiren, he also got another power up by getting enraged because of Jiren. And they even stated, say, Son Goku's speed has increased even more, so they themselves acknowledged it. So that would mean that Jiren's power at max would be 983 billion 40 million, and Goku's power at max and Master Ultra Instinct in an enraged state would be another 2 times that. So it would be 1 billion 966 no 1 trillion 966 billion 80 million times universal. That's insane. So yeah, Jiren's power at the end of the series at max was almost 1 trillion times universal. So it was like around 800 something billion times universal, right? Goku's in the end and max fully enraged Master Ultra Instinct Goku would be 1 trillion 966 billion 80 million times universal. And this multipliers only work with other transformations. I know a lot of people like to carry on the multipliers to Goku's base, saying his base got stronger, but I don't think his base got stronger. I think only his Ultra Instinct got stronger due to the fact that it was newly unlocked and he was still trying to figure it out. And you could see that more of its power was coming through as he was, using it and training with it. So I fully believe that multipliers only count when Goku goes into Ultra Instinct, not in base. It doesn't transition to that. So his base should still stay the same throughout the Tournament of Power. I know a lot of people say he got way strong in Tournament of Power and they multiply his base. No, his base stayed the same. His Ultra Instinct itself, it was coming more into its own power, so it got stronger. So it went from 2 times the Spirit Ball to maybe like 10 or 20 times that of the Spirit Ball. So it got significantly upgraded and jumped in terms of power. But in the end of the day, Goku at max would be almost 2 trillion times universal at max, and Jiren at that point was almost 1 trillion times universal himself, which is insane. And then the final last crazy feat was Whis bringing Frieza back to life. He was able to resurrect him with his power. So that's pretty impressive, pretty crazy. There was a lot of shit happening there. I know there was a lot of back and forth stuff that I was having and rambling, but that's just how powerful they are. So in the end of the day, if you guys want to know how powerful, anime or Dragon Ball Super Goku is, that's how powerful he is with my calculations. If you guys have different ones or have just different opinions, thinking that no, they shouldn't have had those other multiplications, I don't count that in, because I just don't feel like that makes any sense, that's fine. Or if you guys feel like, no, I think the multiplier should be higher, that's also fine. Also, you guys have to take into consideration that this is going to be a very weak version of Goku. This is a weaker version of Goku. The reason why I'm saying that is because one, every multiplier that I was doing was only times 2 every time. Usually, they should get way more stronger than that due to the fact that Vegeta, with only a day of training in the hyperbolic time chamber, got 200 times stronger. So clearly, and then the last time they trained was for 3 years. So for 3 years straight, I only give him a 2 times multiplier. Sorry for that. I got a message. But so this is supposed to be a downplayed version of him, a more conservative estimate, because like I said, what's the thing called? The the multiplier should have been higher than that, because just with 1 day of training in there, he got like 200 times stronger. And when they trained for the I think it was the Universe 6 versus 7 tournament, they trained for 3 years there. So for 3 days there. So they should have got even more powerful than that. So these are the more conservative and lower estimates that I'm giving you guys. They should be way above this. So this is at a low ball. Goku at max would have been around like 2 billion. But if we were going to do it properly, he should be way past that. Maybe like 5 billion, 5 trillion, 6 trillion, 10 trillion, who knows? But he should be way more powerful than that. This is Goku I'm calculating him at the weakest. That's how crazy powerful him, Jiren, and the rest of the characters in Dragon Ball Super are in terms of power. Um, I also didn't take into factor the fact of the energy attacks, because they raise up the power much besides the Spirit Bomb, because these destructive powers that I'm saying that just one-shotting this many universes, that's through physical punches. And we know that the Dragon Ball characters' energy attacks are stronger than their physical attacks, especially more like concentrated, condensed attacks like Kamehamehas or Final Flashes. They're way more powerful than those punches. So this is how powerful his physical punches would be, not even counting his energy attacks or him increasing that energy through his punches by directly putting extra amount of energy into a specific part of his body, like his fist or his feet, when he attacks to increase the power. Also, his kicks should be more powerful than his punches too. So it should be even above that itself. And these are one-shotting these universes. So this is how powerful one single punch of Goku should be at a low ball. If and then we know in fights they throw countless punches, hundreds of thousands of punches, right? So with the single punch, they can do that much damage. So imagine if they were throwing hundreds of these punches, it would accumulate by a lot. So each individual punch that Goku is throwing in Master Ultra Instinct in full power would be hitting with almost 2 trillion times the power of to destroy the universe. So as it goes on, as he's throwing it, he would be like, let's say he throws 100. That means he threw 100 attacks that were almost 2 trillion times this universal in levels of power. That's insane. A single punch does that much damage, and if you're throwing hundreds of them, that means you're throwing hundreds of punches with that much power at people. And those are just punches, not energy attacks. That's not even going with all the other multiplications I could have had. And then not also including the other abilities and techniques. And then also stuff like Jiren surpassing time. That's which I think it's way more impressive, because time is another dimension. I know a lot of people think that our dimension houses all these other higher dimensions. That's not how it works. Or, our universe is the fourth dimension. No, it's not. Our universe is the third dimension, and it has part of the fourth dimension in it. The fourth dimension is just time itself. That means, like, if there's other universes or other dimensions with different amounts of time, like some are sped up in time, some are slowed in time, some are ahead forward in time, some are back in time, right? It doesn't matter. If you go to the fourth dimension, you can go through all perceptions of time. Just like how we can go back, forth, up, down in any part in the universe, we can go basically three-dimensionally. In time, you can go not only three-dimensionally in space, but three-dimensionally in time. So you can go any place you want to in time, and the fourth dimension would connect and house all these other realities, even if their timelines are not synchronized or completely different. It would house them all because it is time itself. So if you destroy the fourth dimension, you basically destroy all of time, basically destroying the other universes and all these other dimensions along with it, and fucking them up. And even an infinite dimension would be destroyed by destroying time itself. So being able to destroy fourth dimension would make you 4D or 5D. I think no, actually, destroying a universe will make you 4D. Uh, Destroying a universe will make you 4D, especially if you destroy an infinite amount. And if you destroy time itself, they'll make you 5D. Some people put it higher, saying 6D. That's not true. The fourth dimension is time itself. If you see any, scientists and stuff like that that do string theory, they'll explain to you that fourth dimension is time. And yeah, so that's what it pretty much is. So character's higher than this dimension, that means they'll be in the fourth dimension would be time, and if you're higher than time itself, that means you'll be 5D. So the fact that Jiren was stated, and I am going 100% with the fact that he's beyond time itself. The fact that Jiren was stated by not only Vados, but also by Supreme Kai that he is beyond time itself, that would mean that he's beyond the fourth dimension, making him 5D. So yes, he is 5D, which would make him low complex multiversal. And Goku got even stronger than him in that. And that was first of all, that was a heavily suppressed Jiren for one, and two, that was a Jiren that got surpassed by Goku. Like Goku at the ending surpassed even a full power Jiren. So a heavily suppressed Jiren could do that. A full powered one should be way beyond that. And then Goku was even stronger than the full powered Jiren in an enraged state itself, which jumps up his power even more. So that would mean that through just numbers, at max, he would be 2 trillion times, around 2 trillion times universal. But we're just doing it through a dimensional tiering, he would be 5D. He would be in the realms of 5D or low complex multiversal. That's why I always say that the Dragon Ball characters in Dragon Ball Super are 5D at least. At least they're 5D. They could be higher, who knows? But at the very least, they're 5D. Going based off of that, or low complex multiversal. You could put them higher, or you could put them lower. I don't know. I wouldn't put them too much higher, but what I'm trying to say is, at the very least, he's low complex multiversal. You could probably put him higher, but I wouldn't put him way too much higher, and you can't put him lower than this. And those who disagree with it or saying he's not beyond time itself are just coping and just don't want to accept the fact that he's low complex multiversal. They don't even want to accept the fact that he's multiversal as a whole, which is destroying 1,000 universes. Clearly, he can destroy way more than 1,000 universes. So get out of here with that shit. So yeah. And since Jiren surpassed Zamasu merged with the timeline, which was an entire timeline, that also makes sense. He merged with the entire timeline. He was above that. He's a god of destruction level. He should be above 5D. So yeah, the Dragon Ball characters tier wise are above 5D, or like at 5D at least, the high 5D, low complex. And then just through numbers are almost around 2 trillion times that of universal. 2 trillion times universal in one basic shot, and that's at a downplayed state. And then you have Aniraza, who can warp through space through sheer power. Now, of you guys, before I end this out, I want to ask you guys: do you want me to do or cover Dragon Ball Super Broly? Because I know that's also connected to the Super series. I know it's not the anime; it's the movie, but if you guys want me to cover Dragon Ball Super Broly's power scaling and how much stronger Goku and the rest of the characters got, and compared to Broly's power and how powerful he is, I can do a video on that too if you guys want that. But yeah, for right now, I'm done with Dragon Ball Super power scaling, the anime at least. I'm going to go do the manga. I'm going to do also reviews on the manga. But I want to cover other characters first and other like topics before I get into that. And I just also want to know if you guys want me to do Dragon Ball Super Broly, the power scaling of that. If you do, I can definitely do that. And, we can just see. Even though I don't like Broly, I will do it for you guys because I think the multiplication, that will be pretty intense and pretty crazy to see. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.